Hey everyone! Hey guys, sorry I was a little bit late, but yes, we'll be starting here in a bit with lots of feedback today, lots of stuff. Let me know if you can hear me or anything. I had to last minute move my mic because something was going wrong, so if you can't hear me, let me know. But hopefully everything's working now. So let me go ahead and screen share, we can get started. I think first up today we have AJ, so just let me make sure I have everything up, everyone's notes. Let me see. Okay, hey Yub. Okay, so here we go. I think everything's working. So first we have AJ with his blocking pass. It's hopefully AJ's here. Okay, here's my blocking pass with the shot. Let's see. Combining different parts of reference. Not too sure about the ending. You want her to go fast, almost hysterical maybe. Stops in shock after realizing what she said. Okay, cool. Hey, Preetham. Alright, so let me go ahead. I think this is the latest one. Okay. Cool. So let me take a look.
I'm sorry, and if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
This is looking good.
I'm sorry, and if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
Okay, so I think for my first, I know this is like still blocking and kind of rough, so I won't give you too many like face notes because there'll probably be things that you'll fix, but I'll maybe add in just like a few little face things just as I see them. So let me just think. I mean, like just some simple stuff like, you know, I'm not sure if you said this is your blocking pass, so I'll go ahead and give you some more like detailed notes on posing. I know last time like we kept it super rough because it was still rough blocking, but I would really try to nail like a very specific hand pose for this. Maybe just because right now they just kind of feel the same. They just feel like there's an odd bend here, and I think this is a little bit of Aya's hands, but like this thumb feels kind of broken here to me. So I would try to just get her. I was about to suggest something, but then I remember how hard it was because I had a character that just had like his fingertips on the table, like this instead of down here, and it was a nightmare because no IK fingers, and I had to like counter it and make sure all the fingers were like still placed. So don't do that. I was about to suggest that, but my animator side of my brain was like, no, that would be a good pose, but don't do that. Too much pain. Hi, Ro. What's up? But I would. If you can, like, you know, if you want to negate trying to deal with, like, IK fingers, because I think that's always a nice pose whenever, like, especially on Aya, because she has longer, like, daintier fingers, it's kind of nice to have that. But if you want to avoid that and just deal with IK, like, don't have to deal with any kind of crazy constraints to have the fingers up, I would just try to make a more pleasing, like, shape, like, maybe grouping these, or, like, doing, you know, the classic Disney hand of two, or just something that, think of, like, two, something actually Sean Lee was talking about, to me and Dan and Sin the other day is like he was talking about fingers, or I think it was Kenny. I forget who it was. I think it was someone from Disney was talking about it, but basically like think about interaction of fingers, of like having the fingers overlap a little bit, like not having them just straight. Like fingers can do a lot of like colliding, right? Of both of them to the side, or just having like fingers overlap, or do something that's different and interesting and not just, you know, flat on the table. Like maybe one's over top, or just something that kind of breaks up that feeling of like they're both doing the same thing. Especially since this is like your opening pose, you want the fingers to be really appealing because they're not moving, they're just there, they're kind of static. So, you know, maybe I'm terrible at drawing hands, but you know, maybe you could like foreshorten this and then have, you know, these two fingers together here and then the pinky out this way. Just something to, or like one thing I might even do is maybe one is turned out this way, but then like this hand is actually coming more towards the camera, you know, like, and then maybe the thumb is here, and you can do something, you know, something like that, where they're just a little bit more offset and they're just not twinning as much. Also, one thing, like, you're probably not super into, like, facial blocking yet, but what's nice is to connect Aya's textures, because otherwise it's really hard to see what her mouth is doing, because you can't really see where her top lip is. You kind of just have to guess based on where it's at. So I would suggest maybe connecting her texture, that way can give you some more detailed, like, facial and lip notes. It's especially important with Aya when you get into lip sync, because you can't tell where her lips are at without the texture on her. So I would do that for next time. But just like as a general thing. Also, I'm still having to use my mouse to zoom in and out of Sync Sketch, because I haven't had time to actually go in and like put my hotkeys on my new tablet. So, but maybe getting like, you know, once you get more into it, start getting like this mouth over a little bit, like a little more in profile would be nice. Actually, like, even more than that, you could really... I lied. Hold on. You know what I might do instead of that? She's got this line going through her body, right? So then if you have this line going through the head, they kind of, like, contradict each other. And it'd be a little bit nicer to have it, like, one line through the whole body. Like, continuing that line of action through the face is always nice to do. So what I might do is reverse what you have now. And that's actually a thing, as I was giving the note, that's something that I like struggle with a lot. I don't think about the line of action through the face sometimes, and I do it the opposite of what I should, and I always have to catch myself doing that. So I might, you know, thinking about the line of action, actually do it this way. So it just kind of matches, you know, and then like maybe, this is going to be kind of extreme what I draw, so don't go this far, but you know, maybe it's a little more like that. And then getting some like asymmetry in the brows, just to like alligator that face, and like, I drew that the wrong way. Brain no worky today. Okay. Something like that. And then just as like a general note throughout the shot, I noticed this like kind of when I watched it, is to keep in mind when you're posing Aya's face, just to save you some time now for later, make sure that you're also posing the eyelid crease control, because Aya looks like this and kind of gets kind of weird like flesh right here if you don't pose that, and I think it makes her look way more appealing if you have more of that crease control coming in there. So just make sure that you're posing that and like bringing it up here, you know, to match the eye, and so that way it doesn't look like this inner brow is like collapsing in on itself. And yeah, like make sure here too, Aya's eyes by default kind of like cut weirdly over her pupil. So I would try to go in and like, I always suggest rounding out Aya's eyes. And then maybe try to get like a straight one. Thing that I love, if you go on the AM campus and look at Felicia Martin's work, she's an amazing animator, and she makes these characters look more appealing than I've ever seen anyone make them, like in the eyes specifically too. What I've noticed about what she does in like posing is she'll make like one round in the straight, like kind of square off like one part of the eye, and so that's something you could go through and look at, like at her classic shot, or her class 5 shot I think was with Aya and like the Lindsay rig. And she has such appealing eye shapes on her in there, so try to get like a bit of that round, and then like, you know, a straight on the bottom or the top, like either depending on the mood that you want to do. But yeah, just think about that like in terms of broad applying that to the whole shot, especially with Aya. There we go. My mouse disappeared for a minute. Yeah, even when she's looking down here, like same notes basically of this same face. This is fun.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, kind of same note here. Just watch out. I love the mouth shape you're going for. That's really fun. Really graphic. And I love that you're kind of like moving the teeth a little bit, or like moving the jaw, whatever you're doing to get that. It's always fun because that's sometimes a passed over thing, but that can add a lot of character. So I like that. One thing I might do, let me watch the whole thing. Which is, I'm sorry, I might just be tempted to tilt the head and rotate Z just a little bit to kind of like continue this nice line of action you have. You know, maybe it's more like here. something like that. Like, you know, if the eyebrows are more like this way. Just something a little bit more tilted because you have this nice thing, and she could like drop into that, like, I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry. Like, not as much, because if you do too much of a head tilt there, she could almost feel like she's making fun of, or like, you know, being inauthentic and not genuine in how she's talking. So you don't want it to be like sassy, but you do. I think it would be nice to have a little bit like when I think of going like, oh, I'm sorry, like I kind of like tilt my head and go down. So that might be something to keep in mind. Here, same kind of notes like that I gave with the face are gonna apply. Like, make sure that crease is up. Aya has notoriously hard brows to pose. I spent many a nights just dealing with Aya's brows because they're really frustrating to deal with. But they make some weird shapes, so you have to kind of go in there and sculpt sometimes. But just watch out for like this getting too close. That outer brow getting too close to the eye can be an issue sometimes. So I would lift that up a little bit. You know, this is kind of an extreme, very gross drawing I just did, but maybe something like this. Oop, what did I just do? Okay, there we go. And you know, still trying to get that asymmetry in your brows. You know, getting one up, bringing this over top of the pupil. Also, since you have like this really extreme mouth shape here, which I like, you know, I might try to kind of make it just like a little more cut in, a little more graphic. See how straight you can get that bottom. Maybe not as straight as I just drew, but. And the same thing, like, I'm a little worried, like, once you put a texture on her, this is kind of like why I would suggest putting a texture, is see how wide this lip looks right now? That could be an issue, like, moving in, that you might have to, like, sculpt out a bit of that lip so it doesn't look, like, so stretched and kind of coming in at a weird angle. So just watch out for that and be careful. Once you get into more detailed facial. And I would move the nose, like, the other way, actually. You know, like this way, coming through the face.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I like that you're thinking of like a really snappy transition here, of like she's going vroom, and she's gonna snap into this. But just be careful, like I'm a little worried that this mirror is gonna be hard to get into this. You know, you're definitely gonna need it in between these two. That helps define that motion, because right now it's a little elusive, but that's an issue for next week. That's for next time.
I'm sorry, and if it... I'm sorry,
and I would try to, like, if I'm looking at her torso right now, right, she's got kind of a block going this way, like thinking of those two squares. Thinking of them as like that. She kind of goes into the same feeling, not as much, but something like that. But like, it's kind of the same, there we go. It's kind of the same situation, just not as tilted. But what I might try to do is counter that in a breakdown. Like, just be mindful of like here, you know, you're kind of doing it here, but I can't see what the hips are doing, but in the breakdown you're going to have between those two poses, try to get something that is the opposite, right? Like, you could do something really fun of, she goes into this like reverse C, and then we'll go into the other side, and that will be a nice breakdown to go woof, and then it'll also feel like her hips are taking that weight, because right now I'm a little worried that it's just going to be like, like she's just going to kind of, you're not going to feel those hips shift like she's taking steps back. So just be aware of that when you start to add in like breakdowns to these major movements and these transitions.
Sorry, and if it is, I'm sorry, and if it is any consolation, I have.
And then I had, when I was watching through the entire shot, I did have one like possible concern. I think we talked about even like last time about gesturing. Is right now she's doing almost every gesture. Well, let's check. She's almost doing every gesture as the same thing with both hands, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, there are times where you can break rules, right? And like it can work, but I wonder if there's an area that we could break it up of like maybe she does the gesture and then she like goes into a pose that's different, right? Maybe she goes like this, and instead of going here, maybe this hand's down, or just something to break it up a little bit and add a little more interest. But let's see, like, because she's starting out with this very like graphic pose of like both hands down on the table, which is good. I like that. This is nice because you kind of have this hand going up and like this hand here, which I like. I like this. And you're kind of getting some more like asymmetry here with like how the hands are going to be spread. So maybe here we could do something. If it is any consolation, like just something different, like maybe one hand, like it can still be the kind of a similar like hand pose, but maybe she can do something like one hand's down and then like one hand's up, or just something that's a little bit more broken up. I think could be interesting to play around with. It may not work, but you know, maybe this hand's down. Any like I'm kind of doing that. Maybe this hand, you know, is further down here. Or just something, like I would try to play around with like maybe just something different with the hands like here, just that way you're not doing every single gesture like twins together. Also, something I noticed when I was looking at it, because see, she does this, heartburn, like she says, it's any consolation, I have heartburn, so it's all the hands doing the same thing, which again, like I said, isn't wrong, but it's just be something to be mindful of like wanting to break it up just to make it more interesting and more appealing. Same thing here. This is a little bit different because she's at an angle, so that's kind of nice, and you could like play that up of like really playing up the hands. I love this. This is a really fun idea. Watch out here. I like you're going for like the spread hands, but like her pinky feels broken, and like this one does too. Radiating. Yeah, there's just too much space. Like if I have terrifying bony hands, so maybe I can demonstrate. But like that, you know, this is max like spread with my hands, like how far I can go. And there's more room like between these two fingers, but like it's really hard to get that big of a stretch between your pinky, especially down. Like this hurts me, right? And obviously it's a cartoon, so it's gonna be exaggerated. But just try to bring that in a little bit more. So if you do anything, you could do a little flare, but then they come back to rest. But that's something you do like more into like a spline pass. You could do a little overshoot of that pose, but for right now, like just kind of bring those fingers in a little bit. Also, I'm looking at the chat. I missed things. Preetham said a question about reference acting. Tips to how to shoot reference. Oh yeah, I can maybe give that like after this critique, just like a few base tips. I know at one point we are planning to do like a acting and reference shooting like demo, or not demo, but basically like a talk about it. And I think we're even planning on doing a Q&A with like another animator that Sin knows. I forget their name off the top of my head right now. 2 other animators that Sin knows that are really good actors, and she wants me and them to get together and like just talk about acting. So that's something in the future I think that we do have lined up to do, but we just have no date with yet. So that'd be cool. But yeah, like after this critique, I'll give a little rundown of like my top 5 tips, Madison's top 5 for reference and acting. Because I do have a lot of tips because I was an actor and an actress in a past life, so. And also someone asked, where did I get my hoodie? I got this hoodie a long time ago. I think, I forget. A company called Jalt, I think? Jalt? I don't know. It's been a long time I've had this hoodie. I like oversized hoodies. But it's got a little truck with like a little ice cream truck with a banana and a gorilla driving it, which makes me happy.
And if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating.
Just like a little thing, I keep giving face notes that I said I wouldn't, but to keep in mind, like as you go forward, try to always cut in on one side of like, especially a smile with eye always looks better if you like cut in like this, just to like make it more graphic, even if it's cheated. Usually like using the Z depth on the mouth corner, like she has those like mouth corner controls here and here. Using the Z depth on that to like push it back is good. And then like using the macro controls to kind of like shape in that. It just looks way more appealing than this, you know? Even this, I kind of like accidentally made it more graphic than I wanted to do, but it's just a little trick to kind of make your poses look more graphic.
Constellation, I have heartburn that is radiating me. Constellation, I have heartburn that is radiating.
I like the idea that you're going with here, and like also I don't think you have your reference here with this, but it'd be nice to like have your reference up here so I can see like what you're taking and what you're not. But I understand like if you're Frankensteining stuff together in like your own head, sometimes it's hard to put it up there, but sometimes you can find little things that I could like look back and check, but I had a note I was going to give and I got off topic. Oh, here. So like here, I like the idea of like you're possibly going like this way before you rotate Y, like you're going with a Z and then rotate Y. Heartburn that is radiating in my, like I kind of like that idea and I'd love to see that like splined out or like blocked further out of like rotate Z and then rotate X and then rotate Y. I think that would be fun. The only thing here is the hip, it's just like the neck and then the chest and the hips all kind of feel disconnected from each other. You have like this nice angle on the head. I'm just thinking through. I wonder if you could delay this Y rotation with the head. Like maybe instead of here, it's like here. You know, terrifying Aya. But maybe like more this way, but maybe a little bit more rotate Z with the head. But then I have heartburn that is radiating, and then she could do like that rotate Y, like first lead with the head, and then that's when like the chest and the hips all go. And like if you notice, like a lot of times in my blocking when I'm thinking about things, I'm already thinking about like splining. I do a lot. I know some people, especially AM, they kind of teach you to do like just your your golden poses and like go through pose to pose and work through it, which is good. But like where I'm at in terms of just my workflow is I like to already think and build a lot of things into build a lot of my splining difficulties out of my blocking already. So like I start thinking about, okay, what am I going to have to lead and follow? And when I start splining, I want the Y rotation to be the last thing, but I want Z rotation of the head to be the first thing that goes. So I start building that into my posing already. And that just helps get a little bit away of like a headache of splining, of having to break everything up so much, because if that's already kind of in your blocking, or at least intentionally posed into your blocking, it helps a lot later on. So that's one way that really changed my workflow, made me a lot faster, and made splining not such a nightmare when I'm doing a shot that I'm in blocking for a long time with, because you're already building all that in. Or like another thing, not to go off on a tangent, but like another thing that drives me nuts that people do is like, and not that this drives me nuts, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying like another thing that I see a lot of people do later that I never quite understand, and some people I guess it works for, but they'll say, oh, I'll do a bimbo pass later, like on arms and legs and stuff, or even like necks, and like to me that would drive me nuts. It's like I love to be able to have my poses good, because bimbos especially are a thing that's, you don't really have to spline, you kind of just let it interpolate between the two keys that you have, or multiple keys that you have. So that's something that I always do, like in base blocking. Like doesn't matter if I'm just showing like two poses, I'm always going to use bimbos and stuff and make sure that I like pose everything out. Sometimes I don't pose out the face and I'll just pose out the body, but I make sure that like those are the poses that I want, you know? So I mean, even stuff like here, like I would already have posed out this, you know, and it's just one of those things, like it just makes your life easier to like set it and forget it. Like make those keys, make that pose good, and then you don't have to worry about going in and like doing a bimbo pass or just stuff like that. It's just to make life easier later on.
Is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating my kneecap. That is radiating my kneecap.
Make sure as she comes down here that you're going to show more rotate Z with the hips. Right? Because she's going to come down. That weight is going to need to go somewhere. So like the hips need to show that they're taking that weight as she like leans down.
Radiating my kneecaps.
There's something weird feeling about this arm here. I'm not sure what it is though. I think it's because like right now I can't think visually in my head where that back elbow is. Like the anatomy feels like it hurts. Like it feels like it's doing something like that behind her body. And it just feels a little odd. I would try to like, I know you're probably trying to get like a little bit of the hand or something in camera, but I honestly would like rather see it down here, maybe, and then see like a little bit of that upper arm, maybe. You know, maybe see something like that. I'm not sure. But try something out, like putting it like a little bit lower. I think that would help. And then maybe getting this one. Something like that, possibly.
Kneecaps and I haven't and I haven't taken a dump.
And the one thing I'm a little worried about here, like with this, and I remember in your reference, it was really nice to have like the reference that the girl did for you, like what'd you say here?
That is
radiating my kneecaps. And like she led with the head, and I loved how that felt. Like that was a really cool moment that I would love to see here too, because right now she's like, her whole body's moving a lot through that, and I think it would be kind of cool to play it of radiating through my kneecaps. And I haven't taken it, like she will go up into it and like make that a little bit snappier and stay within, like see how much the body's moving here?
And I have
like I wouldn't start moving her body until like here. Then the body would move up on kind of like at the very end of like she's last like closing the end, and then she takes that breath. That's when I would like transition her really snappy up into the like this pose, and just, but until then, like when she's saying and like just have the head move, and then like that tongue coming up. Like I loved that moment in your reference. I'd love to see that here. So keeping the body still and literally just having like barely like a little bit of maybe like rotate Y and just a little bit of rotate Z to kind of match the head, or to kind of support the head doing the little whoop. I think that would be nice. So you know here, like I might even, dude, this is gonna look broken right now, but maybe she does a little bit more like rotate Z this way. You know, maybe she's like here. This is too broken, but hopefully you get the idea. If she's like, woo, that's terrifying eyes, but just to get the idea in there. You know, something like this. I'm just drawing this so I can ghost it. And then she can basically still be here, right? So here's when she's still here by 2:23. And then you have like 10 frames to go and get her up into this pose, which I think would be nice, just to like make it snappier and like just basically tone down that movement of the body, have it be isolated to just the head and a little bit of supporting movement of like the spine, and then she snaps into this pose. I think that'd be really nice. Also, hi Nicholas, long time no see. How are you doing?
I haven't been.
Here, I might try to get just a little bit more of like, just get this back maybe out a little bit more. You know, something like this. Really push the shoulders down. Maybe get this arm out so we can see it. Maybe get it, like, you could even cheat it a little bit, like, back in Z depth. Maybe get something like that. And, like, I would really get the shoulder down here. Maybe not that far back, but I think it would be nice to see, like, no, it wouldn't. Just kidding. I lied. You know, maybe like a little bit more, like, rotate X on the head. And I like this. Just make sure you're doing bimbos. I like this hand pose. It's nice. Yeah, just something a little more pushed here. Also, AJ. Oh, wait, is it? I didn't even look here. I'm dumb. Okay. Okay, good to know. Oh, this is like new reference too.
I'm sorry, and if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
Nice.
I'm sorry, and if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is... Sorry, and if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
Nice. Okay, cool. Now I know that your ref is here. Awesome. Yeah, I like that reference that she did too. I think it's nice. It adds a lot of the good things that we liked about all of them together, so that's a good resource to have when you're blocking this out.
I haven't taken a dump since...
So, like, basically here, all I'm saying is, like, just kind of push this line of action a little bit more, especially in the spine. Right now, the spine feels like she's, you know, because she's just taken that breath. And I haven't, and she's about to go into the, you know, I haven't taken a dump thing here. So I'd love to see, like, just a little bit more of, like, continuing and, like, pushing that line of action a little bit, so.
I haven't taken a dump since...
Watch out for her neck here. It feels a little broken. Like, how far forward it's jutting out without the, chest like coming down too, so I would just bring that back up, you know. And if you want to have her kind of like slump here, you gotta add in, you know, that body language too, and like bring those shoulders down and like forward, you know. So it just depends on what you want to do. Like, you can either move the, you know, I would still bring this back just a tad, even if you're going to do a slumped thing. You know, something like this, basically, like bringing the shoulders down, right? That's kind of the whole feeling that you want to embody, or you take it back up, either or. Also, let me see. It was best for your IK and FK arms. It's in IK until the third part when she stands. I mean, it depends. I personally prefer FK because my brain works better with that. Like, this is possibly one where I might do IK for like because she's doing a lots of like close into the body. What you could do if you wanted to keep it in IK is you could do IK but in chest space, because she's keeping them really close to her chest. Oh, especially, I forgot she even... Yeah, because she touches them. So what I would do, I would keep them, you know, they're IK here in world space because they're on the table. And then you snap them during here to IK chest space. So that way if she's going to move, it's going to act like an FK, because, you know, this is also just like waist up. So it's going to... Twitch thinks that FK is a bad word, so I have to go and say allow each time, sorry. But, yeah, so I do think the best of both worlds, because you can kind of like get a nice hybrid if you're doing IK arms, but in chest space. So that way when she's moving around, they're going to move with it. So you're not having to like actually translate the hands with the body, and you're not going to get like this, you know. So keeping the hands switching from when they're on the table, they're IK world space, but then whenever she goes up into this, I'm sorry, just put them to chest space, and I think it'll keep them there, because also that'll keep them on her chest when she's, you know, doing right here in this, that will keep them on her chest from moving. And then what I would do, so they're here still in chest space, and then I would snap them to FK when she goes into radiating in my kneecaps.
Radiating in my kneecaps.
Because that's a nice little, like a flowy arc, and so that's when I would switch, because then for the rest of the shot you want them in FK, so that would be a nice spot to be able to switch them. Yeah, so basically that would be that's how I would approach this. I would IK world space until here, and then IK chest space, and then IK chest space until here, snap to FK. Basically that's what I would that's how I would approach it in terms of when I would have IK or FK. And also, if they're in chest, cool. Yeah, in a nice way, like if you have Animbot, you can basically key, you know, your spacing with that, and it will snap it to the same. So, you know, if you have a world space and chest space, you basically key before and after, and then Animbot has a space switcher, which is awesome because it will keep it at the same place, and like you don't have to worry about anything. You literally just have to key it, you know, one frame at a time, 1-to-1, and it's so nice. So if you don't know about that, that's always awesome. Just worried about the elbows later on. They're still in IK. Also, hi Brandon. Which part do you mean? Like, what are you worried about specifically? The elbows, like animating them, or? Because basically, like, my biggest thing with, because I did a shot with Aya, my classic shot at AM when she's at like the interrogation table, like her hands are IK the entire time because she's basically, you know, just going here to here, and she has handcuffs on, so it was way easier just to animate them as like a prop, you know, because she had the handcuffs. It was easier to do that than try to deal with switching to FK. And basically my biggest tip with like elbows is making sure that the movement's coming mainly from up here, like this upper arm, and it's not 50-50 with the forearm. Like, make sure that it's mostly that upper arm, and then also adding like little overshoots and stuff with the elbows will help. It shouldn't be too bad of a shot to deal with like weird IK feeling arms, because she's keeping them relatively close to her body, so really all you're going to have to worry about is how far in Z depth you're going in and out with the hands, which honestly you can stay pretty close, I think. Yeah, because honestly this whole part, even here, she's not going out that far, so you're not going to get tons of like having to deal with like getting rid of that IK feeling between these two parts of the arm. So basically I would just worry about like your overshoots with the arms, saddles with the elbows, and it shouldn't be that bad. I don't think it should be, because also when you're getting to the part that would be hard to do with IK, you know, this is when it would be issues, because you have those elbows there, and the farther out the hands are in IK, the more issues I find I have with like elbows and stuff. So as long as because here, if you're planning to switch to FK, which is what I would do, you don't have to worry about that. So basically the only problem areas you're going to have with the elbows of it could possibly feel weird is like this. On any, but you're also keeping it close because she's like nervous, right? And so she's like tense, so she's like keeping everything in. You could even go, if it is any consolation, so basically you're just going to keep those elbows kind of pinned to her sides of her body, and then just have little overshoots with the elbows, basically. That's how I would approach it. So I don't think it will be too hard, because you'll be, again, switching to FK here. Also, I was just moving a lot doing that, and my watch was like, you hit your move goal today.
I haven't taken a dump since...
Giving notes burns calories, kids.
I haven't taken a...
I like the idea of, like, where you're going with the mouth here. Just needs a little bit like cleaning up. Get this bottom lip out a little bit farther, I think. Also, this resolution's weird on this Play Blast, so Sing Sketch is having a conniption with my tablet. And then try to like zip up a little bit of that lip. Maybe not as much as I drew, but just right now it feels like very wide, which this is like Luca mouth, I call it, right? Because you know, like Luca, they did like kind of like these smile. Or what is it, like this? Yes. So just like sharpening up that corner a little bit always looks a little bit more appealing, especially on characters like Aya. And then just here, you know, random little face note, because I can't not say it. Make sure to try to get that eye a bit rounded out. Something like that. And then bringing the crease over top of that eye. Like there. Yes, Luca mouth is super fun. That was really fun to see Pixar doing that. And I love it. It looks like turning red. They're kind of go, whoa, what just happened? Hello, goodbye. Small notes now. But it kind of looks like for turning red that they're going to do kind of like the Luca stylized facial and animation, which I'm really excited about because it's just fun to see something different, you know? So yes, it's channel box time.
I haven't taken a dump since...
It's going to be a long stream today, kids, so strap in. It'll be fun. I'm currently not working today, so I'm just here for extra feedback too. So I know a couple people have already put stuff in the Discord. So if you guys have any shots you want me to take a look at, it will probably be a while, but if you have something you want me to take a look at, I'm more than happy to. So, okay, cool. Just checking, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so let's see. Any last notes?
I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
I really like where you're going with this last part too.
Wednesday morning.
Only thing I'm a little worried, no, this here. That hand I think can go. I might really play this kind of like we talked about last time.
Wednesday morning.
I like this pose, like where you can still see that arm. I might try to like, you know, we were just talking about not mirroring, but it'd be kind of nice to get the same feeling. And also these shoulders are nice slumped, but one thing to always keep in mind is rotate Z, or, you know, translate Y, whatever you're doing, with the shoulders is only half of it. It's like 50%, but then the other 50% when you're doing a slump is rotate Y with the shoulders, of bringing them in. And you want to see a little bit of like this back part of the shoulder, that's what will make a slump. So getting her shoulder, which it's really difficult to draw, but basically like this, right? Like if this is her shirt sleeve, you kind of, I drew this terribly, I'm so sorry, but basically like you want to see a little bit of that back of her back, if that makes sense. I don't know. The same thing here, like the shoulder will actually be more this way because you're rotating it in Y and rotating it forward. And just watch it, like, I think it will fix it once you add some rotate Y, but just watch out, like, right now, if it's just as it is with the shoulders and stuff, this neck feels kind of strange, because also Aya has a very cursed neck that is a lot to deal with, so, just be aware of that, like, right now, that's just a lot of, like, that upper shoulder, like, trapezius, is it trapezius muscle? Whatever that is right here, but, just make sure that it's not as much, and try moving it in the shoulders in Y, moving it in to slump, and if that doesn't fix it, then you might have to bring, like, back off a little bit of that neck coming forward, or add some more, I answered my own question, add some more rotate X to the chest forward, because right now the neck's doing all the work, and there's no sympathetic motion. Like, if I'm just doing it, like, you can't see because I have a big hoodie on, but, like, if I'm just slumping with just the neck, that's kind of what Aya looks like right now. But then if I add just a little bit of, like, rotate Y with, literally, or not rotate Y, like, literally rotate X with the chest while keeping the same neck, it looks like a slump. Instead of, like, this is, like, strained, and then this is, like, slumpy. So, I'd add a little bit of rotate X with the chest. I think that'll help a lot. Like, you know, she'll be more here. And then basically, like, behind, this will be, like, what? Yeah, so this chest coming up this way. Basically, like, rotating it forward. But yeah, I think that'd be all my notes for you so far. Like, if you have any more questions or anything, please feel free to ask now or forever hold your peace. But yeah, this looks really good. I'm really love to see like where it's headed. I think you have a really good timing and really good feel for that. So, whoops, it'll be exciting to see more in between start to get in there and really start to like define the motion. I'm excited to see that.
I have heartburn that is radiating my kneecaps, and
also, big kudos to actually getting an appealing smile on Aya here. I love this smile. It's really nice, like shape. It's so hard to get a nice smile on Aya. I struggled with that so much when I was working with her. So big kudos to that. This looks really nice. I love that, and that'll be really fun. She's like, and like I love how you already kind of are thinking about the tongue coming up and posing here. So awesome job with that. But yeah, do you have any more questions or anything? I'll wait a little bit before I go on to the next thing and check and see who's next. Maya is next. Awesome. Cool. I know AJ said that he was having issues with his chat, so no worries if you can't get it, but yeah, hopefully that's it, and if not, you can always DM me if you have any questions about anything. But as always, these critiques are recorded, so if you need to, you can look back. But okay, cool, we have Maya. Hey, Maya. Ooh, awesome. Okay, so you said that you're polishing, right? Awesome. You're like probably last week of, second to last week of Class 6. Congrats, getting close to graduation. That's exciting. I actually just saw it today on my phone because I took a picture of my last assignment I submitted for AM for Class 6, and it was a year ago today, so a year ago since I graduated. I was like, yay. It's crazy. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. It feels like just yesterday that I was like up until 7 a.m. on a Sunday trying to get my last polished notes in for my reel before I posted it. It's crazy how fast time goes. Okay, cool, AJ. Awesome. It's looking good. Can't wait to see it next week. Okay, so Maya says she worked on notes. Awesome. If there's anything else, also added other shots for polishing notes. Cool. You put them in order of priority. Awesome. It's cool. I saw you had the ballet office one, and there's a couple people that have ballet stuff that even posted in the feedback channel today for like extra feedback. And I'm loving it because I was a ballerina in a past life, and I love being able to give ballet notes because ballet is such a specific, or like just dance in general, because I was like pre-professional, like classic ballet. I did a lot back in my youth of dancing and piano and all that, but it's fun because ballet has like such specific body structure and like form that it's fun to give notes on because I know exactly how it feels in my own body to do it. So I'm like, always turn out the feet, which is, instead of the feet being like here, always point the toes out. That's my biggest note for everyone that does a ballet shot. But many past lives, yeah. I've been many things in my 23 years on this earth, so. Yeah, Nicholas, yeah, we graduated same class, so it's crazy. Awesome. Okay, well, let me look at this. I'll go ahead and, I know you're finishing up and like wanting like polishy stuff, so I always try to keep that in mind, like where everyone's at with their shots when I give notes, because I know how frustrating it is to be like go in for like polishing notes and then someone gives a note like, oh, you should change this entire pose, or you should like take out 3 times this entire section, or take out a chunk. I'll keep it polishy because I understand the pain, so let me take a look.
Those kind are poison?
Nice.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
Imagine it was funny from over there.
Nice. Your lip sync looks really good.
Those kind are poison?
Nice. Okay, so let me just kind of take this shot by shot, girl by girl, and just look.
Those kind are poison? Poison?
Okay, this is a really small thing, but it bugs me, so I'm going to point it out. But her hand coming down here is very, like, the spacing. Just check the spacing, like, on her hand as it comes down. it like slows here and then totally hits the wall and then like goes faster down. Like if I'm to ghost that. It's also kind of even. So just make sure it's like it's on the basket and it's like boom. So it fast in to her hand because she's dropping it, you know. You can do a little slower than that if there's like tension on it, but she's kind of just dropping the hand, so I'd rather see it just kind of like the spacing get tighter as she goes to like rest it on her leg. So just watch out because it just feels a little floaty right now. So it's just a matter of literally like either making that key linear that when it hits contact or something else. So or just going in and finessing it. So just a little small note there.
Poison?
That's like a minute fix. So I like the face. Like I'm watching her right now, by the way.
Those kind of...
I like the bit of compression you have before she goes into this. This is really nice. One thing I would do is I'd offset the eyebrows to be 1 to 2 she's far enough away, I might do 2 frames. 1 to 2 frames sooner than the eyes are moving. So as she's like looking, the eyebrows are going to start coming down and then the lids are going to start coming down and then they're going to be closed and then the eyebrows are going to start coming up and then the lids start coming up. So just like offsetting that so you get like ka-chunk, like you just get a little bit more feeling. I talk in sound effects. You want a ka-chunk here. But basically what I'm trying to say is you just want to offset that so it feels a little more organic and fleshy with the eye mask area. That's kind of one thing that I like to do when I start polishing, like super polishing, is offsetting the brows. And then I even get into like crazy offsetting where I'll offset the TY and yes, you get the ka-chunk. Cool. You want a ka-chunk here. But basically like you want to offset sometimes the outer brows moving from the inner brow. So like I'll go in, sometimes I have to counter animate it to get that, but you don't want wavy brows, you know, you don't want them like waving around on their face, but sometimes just to get like a nice up and down, sometimes I'll have the brows like come down first with the inners and then the outer comes down later. So it just going in and it depends. It's very situational from shot to shot what I'll have do or like what the transition will be, but that's something to always keep in mind. One thing I also do too is offset the TX and the TY, especially of the inner brows. Like when they're coming, if your brows are down here and they're coming up, you want them to come in X first and then up. And then the same thing if they're coming up and then down. If they're up and you want them to come down, have them come out in X first and then down. And then back in X and then in Y. So basically like your X is going to lead trans X of like your up and down of your brows. And just it gives them a nice little arc. And you can kind of like overshoot the brows with that. And it makes a really nice fleshy feeling eyebrows. It makes a huge difference. It doesn't feel like it does a lot when you do it, but then you watch your whole shot and it's like, oh, it looks so nice. So
Those kind are poison? Those kind are poison?
I love the lip sync on her. Now, those kind are
Those
poison.
kind are poison?
Also here, watch out when she does this look. Right now it feels kind of, she's got like what I call a Barbie doll head, where just the head's moving and a little bit of the neck, but there's no sympathetic motion in the chest. And I'd like to see just a little bit of like rotate Y to like when she looks over. And it'll be a little bit delayed, right? So head first, and then 2 frames later, rotate Y of the neck, and then 2 frames after the neck is rotate Y of the chest just a little bit. So I would go in and add that like rotation.
Those kind are poison?
Now I'm watching this girl. Little polishy thing. I'm trying to give you what I call like 10-second fixes of stuff that you can go in and just put in and they polish up and just like all those little noodly things that plus a shot, the extra 10%, but also don't take an hour or 2 hours to do. So one thing here when she grabs this, one thing I always like to do with grabs, I talk about it a lot, is hit. Sean Sexton talks about this. He's the one that taught me it. Is basically when you have a character grabbing anything, always have the hit. You know, if they're going for it, like in the hands like this, have a hit, and then the fingers splay out, and then they grab, right? So instead of just this, you get So you get that flash of like, you can even see it when I just do it, you know, roughly with, you know, a pen. This just, you don't read the grab as well, as clear. But when you have a little bit of like, you have that just flash of like the fingers coming out, it just makes it a little bit easier to read, right? So, and you, honestly, it can be 1 frame sometimes. Usually I like to err on the side of caution and do 2 frames of it, but so here, I would flay the fingers out. And then right to this. You know, because you already kind of have this. And like here, I might keep them out a little bit more. Like that might be too much what I drew, like too far out. But the general idea of like them coming out. Hello, Philip.
Those kind are poison.
Also, a little thing, I would use bin bows to like smooth out this knee. Aya has really annoying knees. You'll probably have like, I don't know if you're planning to have like dresses or like sims on them, but just even the dress, like if you have cloth sim on top of that, I could, if depending how thin the material is, I could kind of add a weird little dip to it. So just for cleanliness sake, round that out a bit with some bin bows or
Poison?
whatnot.
Those kind are poison.
I would, a little, You're doing it a little bit, but I feel like there could be more like reactive, like eyelids to the cheeks. Just kind of like trying to round out. Also, my pen is not letting me draw that small, but basically just like rounding out those eyelids coming up, because like those cheeks are so big and she has like so much, they're so exaggerated. You want to see them like push up, right? Like when I do that, like my lower lids round out a bit, like crescent moon this way. So I would try to just get a little bit more of that. And then here, I would still, like, you're still trying to get that shocked expression, which you're basically doing with like the upper eyelid, but I might still try to get, something affected, because it also is, I think, just Aya, like the way her cheek controls work, but it feels like nothing from here, and like those I think it's like eye bag controls, they're called, something here, they just feel like they need to be brought up into the eyes. I just want to be able to feel like those cheeks are actually like, you know, like pushing the eyes up, so. Cool. Okay, let me look at this.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah. I'm just gonna bookend it so I can watch it. Watch out for this. I've never noticed this before. I don't know if this was a new thing, but this foot is just like distracting me. I'm looking at it because it's like it goes back and then it goes forward, stops, and then slides forward and stops. I think it'd be nice to have one little foot placement, but I would just pick one. I wouldn't have it go back here. I basically would just have this one here. That little foot placement. I don't think you need two. It just is a little bit too distracting, so I would just simplify that movement.
I'm sorry.
Also, I can tell that like you have some like breathing control thing going on with Aya's breathing control for like this laugh. And right now it just is like distracting me a bit. It just looks like she's inflating and deflating right here, and that just is a little bit odd. Because when we laugh, it should be a little bit more of like a little bit more rotate X in the chest and a little mostly like shoulder up and down. And like we do have expansion, right, of like the chest and the rib cage, but Aya's is weighted really strangely where it kind of just inflates her boobs more than like it does actually her chest. So just I would try to change that. So like basically don't use the inflation that much like for the chest inflate, but I would just use a little bit if you wanted to add in that breath, because you don't really hear, it's more like a silent laugh that she does here. She goes you know, you could kind of go like a little bit of like boom 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 like with the rotate X of the chest, and then adding a little bit of like translate Y with the shoulders that are offset. But I would do that over doing the chest inflate because Aya's works really strange and like the weighting of it is odd. So because like you have a little bit in the shoulder, which I think is good, so I would keep that and then get rid of the chest inflate, but just add a little bit of like rotate X to the chest to kind of simplify that movement and make the laugh seem a little bit more genuine, like it's coming from her chest.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I'm sorry.
I really like that lip sync, how it comes in and out. Sorry. That's nice. With this smile, I would again like try to see if you can push up, not as much as the previous, but see if you can push up that cheek just a little bit, like into the eye, like that eye bag area. Let me see, Maya. How would that work with RX? Would I have to counter animate the head so it stays more still? You would not be using much RX, like literally just like this. Like if you can even see my camera, like just very, very simple, like subtle. And then also like if your head has follow a line on, I don't think you'll have to deal with too much of like trying to keep the head still. If follow a line's off, yeah, because then like right now, like is follow a line off, because then if you're rotating the chest, the head's gonna come down with it. For most of my shots, there's a few exceptions, like if I'm having a character like tumble or do something crazy, I'll turn follow line off, but for the most part I always have it on, especially for a shot like this, because I want to be able to move the chest and like have the head kind of stay locked. Okay, yeah, but if it is off and like you want to add, like that's something important to you, like you want to add that rotate X, because I don't think it makes or breaks it. Like honestly, I think you can get away with just the shoulders, but if you really do like want to go in and add in that rotate X with the chest, Animbot, if you have it, has a nice switcher for that. Like you can turn follow line on for your entire anime. You could say like all keys turn on follow line in the space switcher. It's like the little pink button. I don't have mine up right now, but I could show you. But you can say follow line for everything, but then your animation stays the same. So that way, if you try to do that manually, like without Animbot, you'd have the head goes crazy, you know, another way, because when you turn on follow line on, it's another head. So that's one way that you can do it. But again, like I don't think this makes or breaks your shot. Like if you don't have rotate X, I think you can totally get away with just some like translate Y with the shoulders, because also you're not hearing it. Like what you're doing now is you're adding in that laugh, and it's not in the audio, so it's not going to make or break it. Like if she's not, because you're not animating it to an audio of her going ha 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 ha, right? She goes and then stops. Yes, it does. It snaps the animation and follow line, but everything looks the same. I'll bring up Maya actually and let it load up while I do some more notes, because it's so useful. It is so useful, because sometimes I'll even do it just to check. I'm like, ooh, like right now I'm doing a shot of like a more parkour, the one that if you watched Daniel's stream last night, he gave me notes on it. But I'm doing a more parkour shot, and like I'll sometimes be like, okay, do I want follow line for the whole thing? Well, let me turn it off, and that way I can use Animbot and literally just turn it off for my entire shot, and then turn it back on, like if I want, and none of my animation goes crazy or gets messed up. So it's very useful. Also, I'm not sure what happens, but whenever I open Maya on my tablet screen, it gets really, really tiny. Like I kind of like it though. I don't know, like, is there a way that I can make it like that all the time? Like, I don't know, these icons and tabs are so tiny, but I kind of love it. Also, Anabot's waking up. Good morning. Let me open this real quick. Let's see. Let me open up this gloriously rough spline of a scene, and I'll show you how the space switcher works. Yeah, Animbot, like, I barely even scratched the surface of Animbot. I wish I knew more about it. That's one thing that I really want to do is, like, go in, do tutorials and stuff about Animbot, because there's so much that I learn new stuff all the time, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is so useful. So see, her align is, woo, hello. Can I not change align? Hello, what's happening? Okay, for some reason it's not showing and my brain is not working enough to know. But one thing that you can also do that I use a ton, this works the exact same way if you're doing follow align on or off. And I don't have Aya somewhere convenient where I can open her up and show you specifically an Aya, but this works the same way. I'll do it with rotate order to show you, but so this is something that's, you know, happens to me all the time. It's like, okay, I'm like, the rotate order's good, but then, you know, the scene, she's actually not moving that much. But let's say here, I don't like this rotate order, right? This is kind of whack. So what's cool, so it's this little button next to like the mirroring thing. It's called the selection attribute space switcher, so it's a mouthful. Oh, the Selena Rig, I hate her. There are parts about her I like. I think she has a cute face. Like, I like her stylization. I think she's cute. But her spine frustrates me so bad. Like, let me just go ahead and, I was trying to bake this to a IK chest actually because but I don't understand why her chest is, let me go on a little bit of a rant here for a second. But like, I'm doing some crazy like graphic poses because I wanted to force myself to try to do a body mechanic shot without any reference just because I rely too much on reference because I know that's how I can get a good product out, because I'm like, okay, I can shoot reference, I know I'm okay at that, I'll get a good product, but I'm like, I'm very uncomfortable doing a shot without reference or using very little reference and not like directly using it because it makes me nervous. So I was like, I need to show myself that I can animate without reference just because. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, like her FK spine, right? Actually, it'd be easier to show you like on this. Is okay here, right? Whatever. There's 3 FK spine controls. This gets a little weird. This gets a little wonky, and then you get to her upper spine control, and the way it breaks, it's like there's no control over that. Like from basically here, from this, like you can see like this little line from here up, you have no control, like over nothing. Like you can't rotate, you can't sculpt, but you can't do anything unless you got in there with like JS Anim Polish and sculpted out some poses. But you can't do anything with that upper torso, and it drives me insane because like I get to, you know, these kind of poses and I can't get to it. Like I can't change, see how like this big dip in the spine? Like I can't round out this upper part because it all moves as like a unit. So it drives me nuts. So I do not like the Selena Rig for heavy body mechanics. I have learned my lesson. But I also want to challenge myself to use her because I do like her body shape. I think it's fun and different. And she's a little bit more stylized, and I mainly wanted to use her because I had the idea for the shot, like for the rollerblades. I was like, that'd be really fun to like use rollerblades and do a body mechanic shot where you have limitations or something specifically. And nope, translating really does nothing for it. And it just kind of like, see, it still doesn't move any bit of that upper back. And like even trying to get her forward, like this pose, like getting her forward like this, she looks absolutely broken from the side. So yeah, just very, very odd spine. And she's not very flexible rig in terms of like body mechanics, especially like her hips and stuff. Like obviously these are really pushed poses, so you shouldn't really have to expect this from a rig, but yeah, it kind of is, but even the IK spine doesn't do anything. Like you can kind of get a little bit of a control over that upper back, but not any much more than FK. So anywho, that was my little rant about the Selena Rig. But she's cute, and I actually modded her face to look a little bit different for my shot because I saw actually Amanda Zima did that in our class that I took at Kyosho. She did like a little test dialogue shot with the Selena Rig, and she like modded her face to be a little bit more appealing. So I kind of based it off of that, like changing her nose, changing her lips a little bit, doing some stuff to make her look a little bit more appealing. Oh, and also her neck. It's worse. I'm going off on a tangent now, but her neck is worse than Aya. Like, it's, again, like, just really strange, like, weighting on her neck of, like, you can't really push it, so I'm having to cheat a lot of stuff. Or, like, even here, like, see how her neck, like, doesn't fully go. It's like this whole back of her is just not affected by any control, and it's really annoying, so. Anywho, that's my little rant about the Selena Rig. Yeah. Usually rig FK spine to rotate the upper body. Yeah, it's kind of strange that it doesn't with her, so I would at least like some kind of sculptors or something, even if they wanted to keep the weighting the same. It'd be nice to be able to actually like get in there and make it pretty. So anyways, for let's say and actually Anibot has a cool feature with rotate order specifically, that if I say, oh, is root control, is this what it does? Hold on, let's see. Yes. Okay. Does this then change? We're learning things. Sorry, I haven't used her that much. So oh, also this happens sometimes with the Selena Rig, where like you move her cog or her head, and all of her controls will move with it, but her geometry doesn't until you flip back and forth with keys, and only after you set a key on that. It's really strange. So just little fun oddities of the rig, but well, now I can't really see what her head's doing, which that's annoying. Okay, so this is technically her follow a line. Cool. What if I turn it off? Is that? Okay, no, it's not. Never mind. Okay, I can't find it, and I don't want to waste time trying to figure it out, but so basically, anyways, back to rotate order. So if I use this space switcher here, so I click on the head, right, and I click on this, and then it says rotate order. Oh, local world. Wait. What's that? Ah, there we go. I found it. There's the follow line. So now see her head's moving with. So this is like technically on Aya, like follow a line off. So that way wherever her chest moves, like the head's going to move with it, right? So there we go. Now I can actually use it. So then if I have local world on, which is like the line, right, it's going to change it. But see how it just snapped it? But like if I do it from the channel box here, if I just turn it on or off, like it's drastically different, right? And so if you try to do that through your whole animation, you're going to lose your head animation because obviously it changes spaces, so the head's going to snap to a different part. So this is my pose I want, right? So if I want this, I can click on the head control. I know it's local world, right? I want that on for my entire shot. I say like, okay, maybe it was off and now I want it on for the entire shot because I want to be able to move the body and the head still kind of stay there. Just that way I don't have to counter animate it and you're not going to get jitters in the head. So you click on the space switcher and then I say, okay, local world. So like on Aya, this would be follow a line. And I say all keys. I slide that all the way down and see it's going to go through and it's going to snap it to all keys. So now follow a line's on for my head and I haven't lost any of my posing or any of my animation. And so let's say I'm like, oh, I really want here to not have to, I want to animate the head specifically because she's going to go into a roll or tumble. So I don't want the head like going backwards into her neck, right? So I want to turn it off. No problem. I can go to local world, current keys, off. So that'll turn it off on all of my keys, but I still have the same animation there. And so this is one of the most useful tools. I can do this. You can see now the head's moving with the chest. Right? So basically this is a really easy way to be able to try out stuff and like all your animation stays intact, but at the same time you're able to move stuff around. You have a lot more freedom. And I say I use this mostly for rotation orders. Especially on like IK feet, IK hands, if I'm doing crazy stuff. Heads too, I'll use it on, and it's the same thing, it's the space switcher, but it's rotate order here. And see, this has a cool feature in Animbot where it says your rotate orders for all keys, right? And then it says which one's the best. So it says like your average gimbal and what the max gimbal will be with that rotate order. So right now it's an XYZ, which is okay, but my max gimbal's at 60%. But if I go to best, it says like YZX is my best one. It says max gimbal's only 19%, so that's significantly better. So I can click that, and it will go through my entire animation, same thing. Sometimes this warning goes up, but it's fine. But I can change my rotation order for my entire shot, and I don't lose anything. And I also have a better time animating and splining because now I don't have a weird rotation order. So we can even see what it looks like now. So still not exactly what I'd want for here, right? But yeah, and maybe I can do like a more concise demo about it because I kind of went on random rants about Selena. But yeah, it's a really useful, like I honestly could not live without that because like I know how to do it technically, and you can basically like, if you wanted to do this without Anibot, you could bake it to a cube, snap the cube to the head in the same place, like match all transforms, match all rotates, and then you could change the rotation order of the head and then basically copy the same rotation from the cube back to the head. It's like, that's what it's doing under the hood basically, but it's just doing it instantly for you and quickly for like all your animation instead of you having to do that for each key pose. So just a really easy way to do it, and also good to know what's going on underneath the hood instead of just using it and be like, it's magic, in case you go to a job that you don't have Animbot, because that's tragic. So yeah, I would definitely try to use that, and it just helps so much, especially rotation orders with IK hands and feet. It's a lifesaver for it, because if you're having gimbal issues, a lot of times you can fix it that way. So always a good thing. But also as a warning, if you're doing rotation order, changing it with Animbot Space Switcher, make sure you always run the Euler filter before you do it, because that will change. If you have weird gimbal issues going on where you have, values of -5,000, that will change how it calculates what's the best rotation order. So always run the Euler filter on whatever you're trying to switch the rotation order on, and then go from there, because otherwise you'll have issues.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
For the eye, this is a really picky note, but for the eyes here coming up, I would give it a few more frames of, like, excuse me, a few more frames of ease up on the blink up on her opening the eyes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
But yeah, I think that, honestly, I think that's my only real note for this, like, polishy note. I might try to just add a little bit more overlap with this hand. Like maybe, this might be too much, but maybe. And then it comes here. Maybe these fingers come out a little bit. And then they come back. And then you have this flare of like the tension when she goes, which I like. Maybe it comes out a little bit more just to give more flair to it. Yeah, I think something like that. I might have made the fingers too swimmy in some places, like too overlappy, but that general principle. I'm looking like here at the eyes. I like the posing you're going for. It's just right now the eyes, it feels like the eye controller's like following the head perfectly, and the eyes are kind of like locked within her own body and her own head. I wonder if there's something else. And right now she's just kind of like staring off into the void. I wonder if this would be kind of like a quick fix you could try. I wonder if she was looking here, like to the side maybe? wonder if that could be interesting to try. Just, well, that's a new color picker, okay. I don't know, that could possibly be an option, I'm not sure, but, yeah, I'm not sure. Like, maybe just doing something different with her eyes there. Like, maybe she looks to the side, or maybe it's more down, or just something before she looks over. Because right now she just feels, like, locked in her head. Or maybe that she's just looking more down. Maybe that could help it. And having the eyes stay looking down a little bit more as her head comes up. And then they flick up to her. Just something, because right now just her eyes feel like dazed out as she's kind of coming up, so.
Imagine.
Also, one thing here I might change. It's a little bit bigger of a fix. It's not really as polishy of a note, but excuse me, it bothers me enough that I'll point it out. Try to break up this head, basically, like, have the rotate X of the head just drag a little bit before she comes up, because right now she's just kind of like teeter-tottering, like, up, and it would just be nice instead, like, when she comes up to have a little bit of that, like, have the rotate X of the head come up just a bit and have it drag that head.
Funny. I'm over there.
Yeah, the lip sync feels really good.
Imagine it was funny. I'm over there.
And then the only other note really I have is, like, at the end here, her face. I like the, like kind of, she's trying to hold in laughter face. But right from here to here, it feels like there's two keys on her face, and she's just, like, interpolating between them. Like, it just splines from this key to this key. And it just feels like there's no real, like, offsetting or anything happening. And then I'm also noticing, like, a really big, like, shape change in the eyes. And honestly, I think this is more of appealing of an eye shape, so I would stay with that eye shape through this too, like, kind of how you have them a little bit more, like, round and, like, more focused inwards. Like, it's my tablet is not wanting to draw that small, but basically, like, just keeping the same eye shape that you had on 392, like 392. I can't write. 92 eye shape. And just basically stay within that, and then, like, have, like, the changes of the brows and the mouth around it. And you could do a little bit of changes, but right now just, like, the shape change feels too extreme from one to the other. So I would just watch that. But yeah, I think that'd be my main notes on this one. And then you said you had other shots too, so I can go through and look and give you some polishing notes on those.
Those kind are poison.
I know this was, like, the biggest one that you were working on, so I wanted to give you the most time and notes on that. So let me go ahead and look through these. You said these are from order of importance, so I'll look at this one first. Oh, I remember the shot. The rhythmic gymnastics. Nice. Yeah, this is feeling really good. I don't think I'll have too many notes. I watch out for the head here, and just on this turn, it feels a bit linear if you track the nose. I'd have, you know, she's looking up, I'd have, like, have the rotate X lead, or have, you know, you could do all kinds of different things, but basically what you can do too, like, instead of having to go in and key it, an easy way to do, I think Daniel showed it last night in his stream, but basically offset your curves of, you know, she's here, rotate X happens first, then rotate Y, or rotate Z, and then rotate Y, right? So you can go through and literally just grab that chunk and, like, offset those keys so that way they all fit. But honestly, another way to do it is just add it in between, or basically just, like, delaying that rotate X, or starting that rotate X first, so that way you're having just a little bit more of an arc to the head. And the same thing of it coming back Yeah, oh, well, the coming back actually feels pretty good because she kind of dips down a little bit. Might even do it more of like, whoop, like she dips down first and then up with it, right? You know, so here would be like this rotate X, like dips down. Correct, yeah. RX first and then RY, you know. RX first, RZ, and then Y probably is how I would do it. Joke with the shoulder here, I'm just seeing some popping of it like going up and down. Just check that and see if that can be cleaned up a bit. You really want that shoulder to be like really far out because she's putting so much weight on it. Same with this one, like you want them to be kind of like as far up as you can get them. I'd even translate them in Y a bit. Or like here too, like you want the shoulder almost here. Even here, that shoulder's going to be up. Try to get a little bit more of like the back kind of arching this way on this. Maybe the head comes down a little bit more. Just like breaking up that body. She just feels a little stiff coming up through here. That's nice. Be nice right here, just like from like a dance / rhythmic gymnastics perspective to like, ideally like she would start straightening her leg almost to full by here. That's a beautiful leg. Wow, I'm such an artist. But basically like here she would start straightening that leg a little bit more. And then here like almost it would be straight. Cause like basically here's when you start to get it straight. I just feel like it should be sooner. Try to get the shoulder up, start getting it up. Try to get rid of this foreshortening. You know, and then maybe this is not as extreme. Again, the shoulder would be a little bit more up. Oh no, I see why you're doing it because you don't want it to be in the face. That actually might work if you have it here. Just make sure, mostly of all, like getting that shoulder up a little bit more. I'd rotate this back a little bit more this way so like you can see the back of the back, if that makes sense. And then maybe this shoulder comes a little bit more forward. Yeah, I'd love to see like a little bit more of a feeling of like that through the arms through here. Watch the TY through here. It's like she hits max TY here, and like right here she should still be going up a little bit. Like, and then down into it. And you have room with like that front leg. And as she comes down here, try to get some like rotate Z in the hips so that way you can see that she's taking the weight here. And I would try to get a bit more rounded of a back here. Like a reverse C before you go into the cartwheel. I think it'd be my main notes on this, honestly. It's just like, again, like little polishy things. Yeah, I think that'd be my main notes on that one. Okay, let me take a look at this one. Nice. This one's honestly pretty polished. I don't think I'll have many notes. Something about the spacing with the cog here is a little strange. It feels like the TY coming down right here is like too late. Maybe something like that. Yeah. It feels like it should be something a little bit more like that, like a little tighter, because right now she just feels like a little, that's the one area she feels a little bit floaty with the cog. So I do something a little bit more like what I drew here, like just getting her like a few frames earlier down to that extreme TY. And here when she hits down, make sure that you're showing those hips are taking that weight by having some rotate Z, you know, getting a little bit more like that. I think instead of coming this soon with the foot that way, I would make sure and show that she's pushing off with it. And then it can start to come through this way. That feels pretty good. The TY here coming up on the cog, it hits a wall at 138 or 139 and then just kind of stays there. I might, you could even try like a little bit of like an overshoot, like boom boom. Just so that way it feels a little more like natural. So like here, just overshoot the cog. Cog TY. My messy handwriting makes sense. Yeah, I think that'd be my main notes on this. It's just like the cog in a few places. I feel like the hands and like the feet, for the most part, feel pretty good. It's just like this shot is so much about like jumping and all that that. Cool. But yeah, I think that'd be my main notes on that. And then I'll take the look at the last one. So this is the least important, but I'll just kind of give you some like, if I see anything major, I'll let you know. A nice ballet one. Nice. It's really interesting. I wonder what reference you used for this. He's actually doing a English style grand jeté here, which usually which is kind of unusual. Like usually it's Russian style. Whenever you see classic dance, well, they'll do something called a flick, where like the Sergei, yeah. Oh, really interesting. Huh. I wonder why he was doing this. But usually, like in a Russian, like this is called like a grand jeté, the thing when they basically do the splits in the air, and basically he'll take up his front foot with the knee, and then they do something called a flick. So basically, like instead of here, this knee would be like this in the leg, and then he would go like woo, and then throw it out. But this is usually more of an English style, they call it, training, where the leg just comes out straight and then they jump. I would try to get a little bit more over like the hand. Like start to get him up a little bit sooner with the legs. More belly shots. I love more belly shots. Here, like too, I would already start to try to get like this curve to the body. Because this just feels kind of messy here. Like I want to see like this kind of curve to the body. Maybe the head more here, just to get more of like that line of action. For the preparation here. So dancers usually like to put either like forward or back, we like to open the hips. So the rotate Y of the hips should be like open, so like facing camera a little bit more. And also get rid of like that line in the rig. So basically like if I was to draw it as a ball, like this is too far, but basically like this would be the rotate Y, the hips, like if the front of them would just be a little bit more facing towards the camera to open up that leg. And then here when he takes weight, try to show that in the hips, like having a little bit of like rotate Z. And dancer, especially when you're doing like a dancer shot, like you're not going to have your usual rotate Z that you would with coming up and down, because a lot of times they train specifically to not have as minimal, like there's actually something that dancers wear when like you're going through school and you're going to a very hardcore, like a tough school with like more classical training, is you use something called like a dance belt that they'll put the girls and like the guys will wear them too. Like it's this really small piece of like elastic that basically sits right on the tops of your hips, so like where we like to track hips in animation, and you try to minimize the rotation of that as much as possible. You want it to be like as smooth as possible, but you're still going to have to like, you can't exactly like if your legs all the way up here, you're going to have to tilt those hips, but it's mainly on what they call like plie, of whenever you're bending the or stuff like this, like here basically that's when you want to minimize as much of that rotate Z as possible. But sometimes it doesn't feel that great in animation. It makes it feel floaty, but the whole goal of ballet is to feel like you're floating. That's the whole thing, the illusion you want to give off. So it's like a fine line between animation, still getting that gracefulness of ballet, but also sticking true to technique. Also, you want to try to hit the ground with the toe as much as you can in the ballet shot. This would be a no-no in a ballet, to have like this foot like this. The knee should be pointing out this way, and the foot should be like, if the leg was here, the knee's here, the foot would want to be like here if this was like the heel, if that makes sense. Basically like the top of the foot is going to be pointing out, so instead of like this is the top of the foot, you want it like that to be able to see like the sole arch. Especially here, like this is this area is a little more forgiving to have that kind of like foot, but still it'd be pointed and not flat. But on the actual jump, ideally you want this leg pointing out. Pointing out that way. Yeah, I think that'd be my main notes on everything. If you have any other questions, Maya, about anything. I don't want to give you too, like, I could go on with, like, this one or some of the previous shots, but I know that you have limited time and you just want, like, polishy stuff, which I totally get. So, yeah, I'll keep that at that for now. Yeah, also, Stuart and Stella are really difficult to do, like, a dancing shot with, a ballet shot specifically, because they can't really point their feet, like, in a proper way. Usually the way that, like, you can get their feet pointed is, like, you know, this is, like, their base of their foot, and then you can get the toe down like this, but then you get this awkward, like, line where the toes are bending, but nothing is happening in the arch, and, like, in a dancer, usually, like, the arch is what bends over, right? So ideally, like in a ballet foot, you want like the heel here, and then this is the toes, right? And that's the leg, which is hard. Which you can do if you're have like a sculpt. You can go in and sculpt that in, and then like key it on and off for whenever you point the foot. But that's just a polishy thing. Which rig do you think is the best for ballet shots I know of? Trying to think. Honestly, I'm not sure. Aya has a bad body for ballet, like that bad lines. Honestly, the best one I would say as of right now would probably be the Milan Rig. I actually know someone that did. Oh my goodness. Oh, I can't think of her name. Vicky Hauser. She did a shot that it's not like a body mechanics ballet shot, but it was like a girl. That we were brainstorming ideas for a shot that she wanted to do, and I was like, what about ballet of like a girl that is because her audio was like, honey, I know talent when I see it, and you, my dear, don't have it. And she like walks away. Vicky Hauser, let me see if I can find her real quick and post it. She's an amazing animator. But she did a shot that's like ballet based, like she's doing ballet arms and stuff. I helped shoot reference for her. And Milan's a good rig because she's like solid. She has like a solid body. Yeah, I can post both of it. Let's see, Vicky Hauser, there she is. I'll post her thing here if you want to watch it. Here's the shot if you want to see it.
Artist.
So she did like a ballet shot of like the girl doing
and I can
exercise.
Still recognize talent.
And she made her young. She made her look really young, this rig.
Don't have it.
It's so good. I love the shot so much. But yeah, she's like, Milan's a good rig because she's just like solid. Like she has nice proportions that you can make a really nice. I'm not sure about like her legs and feet and stuff for ballet because I've never used her for one, but could be fun. Now I want to do one. But this is the Milan rig. Let me find it. You would never guess by the promo images for this rig that it's the same rig because they're interesting. Let me show you. So it's characterrigs.com does it, and it's this one, the Milan rig. The promo picture cracks me up because like she's looking like two different directions. She's very wall-eyed. But don't let that scare you off. Like I've seen so many people do really cool shots with this rig. Kenny Wong, he did some really cool shots with her. Made her really appealing. The whole thing with the Milan rig is like out of the box, she is not appealing at all, but you just do some bit of shaping to her and looks really appealing. I'll post the link to her. And she is buff. Like she is a fast rig. She's really good. Very flexible. Like I love her deformations in her face and her mouth. You can get some really cool stuff. So yeah, I highly recommend her for any acting shot. I really like Milan. And Maya, if you end up using her for anything, let me know. I made textures for her because she has no textures out of the box. It's just like a gross Lambert. And I made her all cute and freckly and blush. So if you want that, just hit me up. I'll send it to you. But yeah, so I think that'd be my main notes for you, Maya, unless you have any questions or anything else. Yeah, you're welcome. Welcome. Let me check, make sure I'm not missing anything. So next we have, I think, Eob. Awesome. Hopefully Eob's here. Okay. You're welcome. Yeah, I did a little bit of a speed run for the last ones, but we got it. Yeah, they're looking really good. I'm excited, and congratulations on getting done with, well, not finished yet, but you're getting close to the finish line with the AM, so that's very exciting. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let me see. Which rig is better between Milan Rig and Dana? Milan. Honestly, I will say Milan. I wish that Dana and David were better rigs, but I do not really recommend those rigs for, especially for body mechanics. Dana is very like hip heavy, and she kind of has the same issues that I talked about with the Selena rig of the spine is just not really weighted well, and it's really difficult to do a mechanic shot with her. And also, I'm not a huge fan of her facial controls. I think she's appealing. She's really cute. But I've never really seen like a stellar shot with Dana because she requires a lot of sculpting to get like super appealing shapes with the mouth and stuff. Like on default, she's one of those rigs like the Dana and David rigs that are really appealing to me like on default. But as soon as you start animating them and like trying to pose them, their rig's just not buff enough to do what I want it to do. So for that reason, like I don't use. I think I did a few tests with Dana and David, and I was like, I don't like the rigs because I just can't get like the shapes. You're very limited to like the shapes and that you can get with them. They're not flexible at all. So I would say Milan Rig just because she is so flexible and moddable, and you can really has nice deformation. She's fast. The David and Dana rigs are very slow for me. So that would be my suggestion. But the best rig would be the rig that we're making, Wonderworld Studios Leo. So as soon as that one comes out, that'll be a really awesome rig for body mechanics and stuff because it'll be buff. And if you guys have ever used like the Milan Rig or the Tom rig, the Tom and Jerry Tom rig, Artem Dubina did that rig, and his rigs are amazing because they're really, really fast but buff and very flexible, which is all the things that I look for in a rig to basically make it my canvas for whatever shot I want to do, right? So I hate rigs that are very limited as to what you can do with them, like Dana and David. Like they're not very flexible in terms of their range of like emotion or shots that you can use them for, just because of rig limitations. So that's my answer. But also Preetham said, had a question. Oh yeah, acting tips too. I was gonna go over that real quick. Once you get paid for, I'll answer this one first. Once you start getting paid for animating, does it make you feel like you should be working all the time? Do you feel thinking like that is counterproductive? Yes. Yes to all of the questions. I definitely felt that. Like, I learned a lot between my first job and now. I was very much like, oh, I'm getting paid for this. Like, I have to do good. You know, I will just keep putting in hours, keep putting in work because I want this to be the best and I want my shots to really stand out and I want them to like me and keep me on, because there's also that pressure of like, if you don't make it good, you're going to get fired. It's like, oh no, like it's not a personal shot where if it turns out terrible, oh well, you can just start a new one or you can just trash it. But if you're on a production and you're getting paid to animate, you have to deliver at that quality and quantity that they want, and that can be super stressful. And I very much, I will tell my tale to everyone because I want no one to end up like me, where at a studio that I was at for like my first gig, I ghosted a lot of hours because they also asked me to ghost without asking me, which is bad sign. Run away. But I had that, and it was really difficult because I loved the project that I was doing too. So I was like, oh, this is cool and I love what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna put all the time in that I can, and it burned me out so bad. And I paid for it later. And the one thing that you don't think about with like ghosting is like, oh, well, it's just me. It's like only affecting me, you know, so I can just do it and it'll be fine later. But the issue is it's affecting other people too, because the company's looking, oh wow, Madison's putting out this much work and she's only clocking 40 hours a week. Well, we can raise the, you know, bar for everyone else. Everyone else should be putting out that. And then you have someone that has other obligations and are only doing 8-hour days, and it doesn't look like, it looks like you're getting better quality than them, but they're you're doing way more time, and so if they're not doing that time, it forces them to ghost to keep up that quality that you're getting because you're ghosting. So it's like this really terrible domino effect. Or another thing that can happen is if you're putting in ghosting hours, they don't know that, it can affect them after you leave too. Like, it affects them of, oh, well, you know, if you left, if your contract's only for what, like 4 weeks, you do a crazy amount of animation, you ghost because you feel like you have to work, you have that feeling of like, I'm getting paid, I need to hit the quality bar, all that, I don't want to get fired, I don't want to get let go. You overwork yourself, you get your stuff to a good, you know, higher quality than it should be because they're asking too much. Or, you know, you're slow and you're trying to deal with like learning how to get faster, more efficient, anything that it could be. If you're like, okay, well, I'm done, you know, I leave in 4 weeks, it'll be fine, it won't hurt anyone. Well, their next production, or when they start casting out their next shots, you're gonna totally screw up the entire scheduling process because the production and the coordinator is gonna look at it and go, oh, well, Madison put out this many shots, so let's raise the bar for the next time. And it ruins everyone else's lives that you just left behind. So it's a really bad issue that I definitely fell into when I first started animating professionally, of feeling like I needed to hit a quality bar and felt like I was getting paid, so I wanted to be working all the time to try to get it done. But finding that work-life balance of, okay, they're paying me, but you can't let that matter, you know? So I've really tried, which is hard sometimes because also like every project, I think every job I've worked so far since I started animating professionally back in like January of this year, I came in during a crunch. So I've never actually really done a job from like chill pre-production or anything, like, or mid-production onward. I've just always went in during crunch, so that's partially just my hand that I've been dealt. But I have learned too, I was like, even if it isn't crunch, I'm a much better asset and animator, short-term and long-term, or long-term and short-term, I should say, because I'm not burning myself out later, right? So I'm more valuable over time, basically is how you have to look at it. So I try to now set really strict schedule with myself of like, I'm only working 8 hours, you know. If they ask me, whoever I'm employed with at the time, to work overtime, there's a discussion and it's not ghosting and I get paid for it, or etc., stuff like that. And I plan around that. So it's really important just to make sure that you have a good work-life balance. And that can be, I do find it almost kind of more freeing in a way. After I got over the initial hurdle of like, I have to do things great now that I'm animating professionally and I have to be amazing and hit the quality bar, so I'm just gonna ghost and all that. After I got over that initial hurdle, because that was a hurdle that I definitely had to learn the hard way about, but after I got over that, it's actually been way easier, I tell people, than school, because school to me felt like it never stopped, because there was no 8 hours I had to hit a day and that was it. There was no, hey, we can't pay you for overtime, so don't do it. You know, there was nothing of that. So it is a bit more freeing now that I've gotten to a place that I'm comfortable with my speed of animation. I know how to hit a certain quality and quantity now that I know is reliable, that I'm not stressed at all. And I'm like, okay, after I hit my 8 hours for the day or whatever, I'm working for whatever company, I'm done and I rest good about. So yes, ghosting is like a really big issue in the industry, and there's like a few studios that are like known for asking their artists to ghost, or ghosting culture is rampant at. So don't ghost, don't do it. It ruins, it sounds like a good idea sometimes, but it never is. Like, and I will say occasionally there is like, oh, like something needs to get out tomorrow and I want to put in an extra 30 minutes just because I want it to look really good because I'm really proud of the shot. So I want to get in 30 minutes of polishing. I do that sometimes still, but I never do it any longer than that. Like, I'm really cautious about, because I just don't want it to hurt anyone else. It's not mainly for me, but it's for other people. And ghosting can be a really big issue that happens, especially with juniors that get in to a studio because they feel like they have to prove themselves. Of, oh, I have to be fast or they're going to let me go if I'm not up to speed. But that's the whole point of a junior, is if you're not being true of like, hey, I did this in this amount of time, or hey, I feel like I'm really slow. Can you help me with that? What are some tips? Like, reach out to people and ask if you feel like that's an issue. But, and also, like, if an employer ever asks you to ghost, run the other way so fast because that is not good, especially if it's not paid. You're putting away too much time. You're going to burn yourself out, all that. So it's a good thing to know going into the industry, because some people are kind of persuaded by that of like, oh, well, I can make stuff better. And animators are such like a singular focused type person and personality that we love what we do too, right? Like, you rarely hear an animator, oh, I gotta go into work today, like I hate my job, I don't like animating. Like, you get into animation because you're a little bit insane about it and you're really focused and passionate. So sometimes it can be fun and you ghost on accident because you really like the project or a shot that you're working on, so you want to keep working on it. But that's also a reason why I think it's really important to have side projects that you're working on. My goal is always to have personal shots that I'm working on while I'm working on doing work or gigs or contract jobs, because if I feel like I really want to keep working on something, I have something else I can put my drive and focus to, so I can still work a 13-hour day if I want, but I'm doing, you know, my other hours outside of my 8 hours for work. I'm doing that for personal shots where I'm not going to ruin a bunch of people's lives if I'm ghosting on it, so I can just ruin my own life staying up till 5 a.m. animating. But that's my long story short about that. It's something that I think isn't talked about enough, and like you said, like you never even heard about it before, and I hadn't heard about it until class 5 at AM. My mentor Jeremy Lazar talked about ghosting because I had heard someone mention something briefly about it in like this lecture I was watching, and so I asked him about it. I was like, what is ghosting, and like, what, is that okay? Have you ever done that? And like he went on a whole story about how that was a really bad, like he was working at a studio somewhere in London and it was a really bad environment where juniors would ghost because they were asking way too much of them, and it wasn't good production where they couldn't talk about it, and it like ruined a lot of people got let go because then they weren't holding up that quality bar that had been there for a long time, because all these juniors were coming in and ghosting and basically like stealing their jobs away by lying about their work ethic. So it's a big issue, so it's a good thing to know in the future. But yeah. Oh, and also I was going to talk about acting. Just I'll give you a quick rundown because I went on a lot and I want to be able to give Eop not make him wait forever. But basically with acting, my biggest tips for shooting reference is subtext. Like that is if I can give like one tip about shooting reference and acting, and like you were talking about too, I think you mentioned getting better at like facial performance. If your brain has no thoughts in it, this sounds really dumb, but like if you're shooting reference and you have no thoughts behind your brain, you will have no thoughts behind your eyes. And that's so important in animation, is to be able to see that in a character, right? And I know there are some people that don't take facial reference at all from their reference. I always do, because I have a very, Sean Sexton once said I had a very elastic face and I'd make a lot of expressions in my reference and stuff. So a lot of times I can take the main ideas of like stuff that I'm doing with my face in reference, or even sometimes subtle stuff, because I get into it, and stuff that I like because I'm thinking about the subtext of what the character's thinking, right? So even if I'm doing a body mechanic shot, like I will always I can tell you at exact moment at any place in any one of my shots what the character's thinking, even if they're talking during it, even if they're just taking a drink of water, even if they're just taking a step and look like they're aimless, even if they're just an idle. Like I can always tell you like what the character's thinking at that moment, and I write it down sometimes. Like now I've gotten to the point where I just know in my head and I memorize it, but I will consciously write a script for myself. Like I was doing a shot a while ago that I still haven't finished. I should. But basically the premise was I was trying to finish it in time for Disney Talda applications, and ended up not getting it finished because life happened. But my whole idea for the shot was this guy was going to be like on an adventure sort of thing. Like he's in this like abandoned like gym mind, and he's been lost, or you know, whatever. It's in terms of the story, I won't get into it, but basically my whole idea for the shot is like I want to do something subtle, and I want him to be thinking, but like audio playing. So I had audio. It was like hard to believe it's only been 3 months. I don't even know who I am anymore. That was what the audio said. And so my idea was like, I'm going to have him like writing in a journal and then like trail off into his own thoughts, and then like just look and like, you know, be in the moment. So my shooting reference for that was literally all about subtext. So like I had this script that I was reciting in my head as I was acting it out. And a lot of times if you're saying those things in your head, you're getting in literally into the character's head. So you'll do things with your face and your body that you cannot force. You cannot just force to happen. Like it will just happen because you're going through the emotions that the words are saying, even if you don't consider yourself an actor or something. Having that subtext and having like a script in your own head of, you can make any action look really interesting. Like, you could have someone like on their phone, right? Like just scrolling through their phone. And if they're thinking, I'm so sick of my, boyfriend or girlfriend and I need to break up with them, they're going to be angry while they're doing it, right? Like, you even saw my face. I was kind of doing that when I was thinking about it. Or like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad. I just lost my job. I'm so tired. Like, you're going to do things different if you're thinking it, like, even if it's a pantomime. So that's my biggest tip ever. Like, I'll condense all my 5 tips down into one. Is just subtext. Subtext is so important when you're shooting a shot, because also it matters if you're shooting even a pantomime. If there's no dialogue, it matters even more then, but if they're shooting a dialogue, they're saying one thing, but they're thinking another, right? They could be saying, something like, well, actually, you know what? Eob has a shot. I can do a little live demonstration and start to get into his work. But he has a shot with some dialogue. I think here.
I forgot. I'm not married.
She says, I forgot I'm not married, right? So what is she thinking during this? Is she mad about it, right? Is she like, I forgot I'm not married? Like, is she bitter about it? Or is she like devastated? I forgot I'm not married. Like, she could be that, right? So if I'm thinking about that in my head, if she's saying, I forgot I'm not married, but she's really thinking, I'll never find someone, this is hopeless. And I always try to fit, I'm getting more in depth now, but now it's kind of going into Eob shot too, but I always try to fit what my subtextual sentence is, or just few words, within the time it takes for the dialogue, right? So what I'll do usually is I'll bookend it like this.
I forgot.
Right? I'll go here.
I forgot. I'm not married.
So here, like, I'll say, okay,
I forgot.
I'm not married. That's what she's saying.
I forgot.
I'll try to say whatever I
married.
need to within this.
I forgot.
So
I'm
she's
not
like,
married. I forgot.
I hate this.
I'm
I'll
not
never
married.
find anyone.
I forgot.
Right? So it can't
I'm
be
not
longer than that. That's kind of my constraints I put on myself.
not
So it'll be
married.
like,
I forgot. I'm not married. I forgot.
oh, that's right.
I'm
I don't
not
have
married.
anyone. Or like,
forgot.
one way you could even play this too is like, maybe she's happy. I forgot I'm not married. Right? Like, she could be happy too, but it's all about that subtext of what you're saying within the time frame that the character's saying it, or the time frame that the character has to sit there. It's like the time that they're actually real-time thinking thoughts. And it makes your character feel more alive, and it applies to so many different instances and circumstances that it's always worth it to do in every shot. It doesn't matter if the character's just doing a parkour exercise, they have to be thinking through that scene. So that is my tips on reference. And I think the plan is at some point, like I mentioned earlier, is for me and a few of Sin's friends that she knows all get together and just talk about acting and reference and like all of our tips and tricks that we've learned over the years. So that would be cool to be able to do and be able to talk about stuff more in depth, because there's so much more that goes into like shooting reference and acting and performance, but it's hard to get into in the middle of something else. So hopefully that answers your question though for the most part, and hopefully helps Eob a little bit when you're thinking about reference and acting, especially for like character. It always helps. But yes, my acting boot camp. Yeah, we'll let you know when we schedule it. I think it's just kind of hard because we're trying to schedule like 5 different people's schedules to fit one day all at once, because I think it's going to end up being like 5 of us. But yeah, hopefully that will happen soon. But if you're on the Discord, follow the Discord, and I'm sure there'll be updates there or on the Instagram. So as the time comes, we'll see. But okay, cool. So now we have Eob. Let's go through. Let me make sure I have your notes and see what you wanted. Let me see. Okay, feedback. There we go. You worked on Lindsay shot from frame 300 to the end. Okay. So haven't touched the face, and then a new shot. Okay, so I'll take a look at Lindsay first. And cool, I'm glad it helps, Pritham. So from 300 from the end, so I'll skip over it, so that way we can, I know you're still working on the other stuff, so I don't want to give you notes that you already have. And then no face stuff yet, so cool, just body mechanic. Let me take a look. Nice. Nice, I like the new ending if we're just going like that. That's nice, because that way you're not doing the same thing like earlier. I know we talked about last week, so Also, I'm going to take some water while I watch this because I'm thirsty. I've been talking too much. Yeah, this is feeling really good. You have some really nice hand stuff going on when she's like picking up the berries and all that. Let me just scrub through and let's just all watch. I think with like the hands, like I'm watching her with like the berries, something that could be interesting in terms of timing. Right now they just feel like they're like kind of splining evenly between like the pinched, like holding the berry and then like putting it in her mouth. It'd be nice if it stayed pinched until she got the berry to her mouth and like boom, like kind of like shoved it in by like pressing flat. Because right now it just kind of feels like really soft of like the hand splining back and forth. So it'd be nice if she like stayed in that pinch like here. And then like pushed it in because she was like putting her hands more open, her fingers more open. So I think that would be like, yeah, I think that's how I would do it. So basically like here, like if you watch, like keeping her hand more in like this. Oh my goodness, I can't draw today. But yeah, but basically just like a more pinched, you know, with that thumb, all that, so the hand would probably be a little bit further up, right? And then boom, 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 like in 3 or 4 frames, that's when her hand like presses against her mouth. And the same thing for each one. I think that'd be interesting. It also might be interesting to have just a little bit of rotate Y on the head, like boom, boom, like she kind of goes into it, because right now she's just like her head's very still and then her hands are going wherever. I think it might be nice to have a little bit. You don't want too much because it's fast enough she could start looking like she's shaking her head no or something. So maybe just slow or subtle, but just like a little bit of like her head moving side to side, I think would help a lot. But it might look too jittery, so try it, and then if it looks like it's just too busy, don't do it, but I think it's worth trying. So I think the biggest thing I would say is like here, through here, the body feels like everything's moving together, and even the arms too. It feels like it's all kind of just moving at the same time. So I would try to delay stuff, right? Thinking about what leads, what follows, thinking about mechanics here. She's coming back. Also, what would be nice is to have a little anticipation, a little antic here if the head's gonna drag. So it might come down a little bit. And rotate X. Right? So the head's gonna come down a little bit. She's gonna go whew, like that and then back up. Like especially right here, it's still gonna be down and rotated forward. So like her nose will be like, her eyes will be like here. Beautiful eyes I just drew. And then it will come up. And what will be nice is it will go woo, and she'll come up into this because you're having her like a very graphic pose up at the top here. So then here, like it'll still be dragging the head still just a little bit. So the eye line will be more like right here. And then she'll go up into this, right? And then I would delay these hands coming off of the table. I would still have them on the table here, so like this thing. Excuse me. Oh, I've been talking too long, my voice is drying out. So I would have it like here, whoop, fun, like, and then she grabs it. So basically you're just gonna make like the timing of her hand still being on the table, and then up quick to her mouth to like take a bite, just to like get the energy there, because right now it's just feeling a little slow, a little soft. So I think it'd be nice to get like the energy like a little bit quicker and snappier of like it comes up. The transition from the hand with like the pancake being on the table to like going to her mouth will be faster. So maybe even like, can I still move keys around? Yes, I can. What is this? Copy? Ooh, will it do that? I didn't know that. That's a new feature. That's nice. Okay, so it's like still there, and then you have, so like, let's see, 374. Yeah, so you almost have 10 frames to go woo, and then the hands come up with it. I think that would be really nice. And then, you know, here the hands come up. Same thing here with like, see how everything's moving together at the same time? Like the head, the chest, and technically the hips too, even though you can't see them, but you can feel them. I'd break this up again. So think about what you want to lead, what you want to follow. So she's here. You almost want to be, do you want to drag the head, or do you want to, you know, lead with the head? It depends. And like either one works. Neither is technically wrong, but like here I might have it be like the chest is what leads, right? So she's got it here. Her head's actually going to go back as her chest starts to go down, and then she's going to like overshoot and settle into it. So, you know, her chest is coming down here. Her head's still going to be up here with like the pancake. I keep wanting to call it a cookie for some reason, but like the pancake here, her hands on it. And then, so her head's actually going to rotate back while her chest comes forward. And then like her head's going to be the last thing that gets there. So she's still going to be like here, starting to come down. With like the cookie here, or not cookie, the pancake. And then she's going to go into this, finally. Just to break up that motion, it will feel a lot better. It'd be nice too on this little like breath that she does. I like how you're dragging the head and then it like comes up and like overlaps. It's really nice. One thing I like in your reference that you do, I like how you have like the elbows come in. I wonder if you could add that to the end here of like, she goes, like when she takes the exhale of the breath, like she's gonna go in and then the elbows are gonna come out and then back in again. I think that could be fun to add in. So like here, they're in. And then as she exhales, they come out. So the elbows come out. And then they'll come in again. I think that'd be nice, just like, whew, and like the elbows are just gonna do like a nice little like round thing, and they might overshoot a little bit, but I think they'll add some like life instead of her feeling like kind of like stuck here, like very stiff. It'll just kind of break up everything. Aw, your sweet brother. We're so happy that we can help. I don't know if we're smart. Well, Sin and Dan are smart. I'm just dumb. I just know a lot of things. I just don't know when to stop. So it's fun. I'm glad that you guys. I know, like, I mean, the whole reason we started the channel box is because we would have killed to have something like this when we were going through school, to have like access to someone that's at least done it professionally. Like, you know, I don't really have any big studios to my name or anything to back me up, but I like animating a lot, and I like learning things, and I like teaching. So hopefully I can learn cool stuff that I can teach you guys. That's cool stuff that I just happen to know. So I'm a glorified library book, but easy access like Google, I guess. But I'm really happy that you guys enjoy it and you guys are getting stuff out of it. That makes me happy. That's our whole goal. So and yeah, it is looking a lot better since I last saw it. Yeah, that's awesome. You're making a lot of progress on this. I think that'd be my main notes. That'd be my main notes for like the body mechanics for this, and then you said like you're working on the facials and stuff, so I'll leave it at that. That's like the main body stuff that I see right now that needs to be fixed, like with this shot. And then the rest is just, you know, whatever you end up just polishing and going through and fixing. But I'll go ahead and look at this new shot that you have. I took a sneak peek at this earlier. And also, what did you say, my it is really weird. It's been strange to getting used to talking to a chat. Like, I was so used, I taught dailies for so long, and that, you know, I still like give notes to friends and stuff. Like, I'm used to seeing their face and like them asking me stuff in real time and like us talking. I was just making a joke today. I feel so awkward after I'm like, okay, do you have any questions? And I'm like just sitting here waiting because it takes a while to type. I feel dumb, so hopefully it's not terribly awkward and cringy to sit through, but I'm getting used to it more and more as time goes on. I just try to pretend that I'm like a really cool YouTuber and I'm like just talking to a camera, you know? That's how I get by. I try to pretend that I'm some influencer or something, and this is just everyday life because it feels so unnatural. But see, acting, baby. It's all about subtext. That's the subtext of how I act through my life. Yeah, we actually thought about like during feedback sessions to be able to have like you guys up in a Zoom or something, or like talking, but it ended up just being more trouble than it was worth right now. That's something we still think that we might try in the future, like that way it's not just everyone talking at the same time, because that could be a liability, but people that we know, like possibly having them up so that way they can ask questions in real time would help. But yeah, you're welcome, Eve. Let me take a look at the second shot and I'll give you, I like the idea of it too. It's really fun. Like, I think your set dressing's cool and you got some cool stuff going on already. Yeah, I am a cool YouTuber. Let's go. I have a YouTube account, never made one video. That's my calling. If the whole animation thing doesn't work out, I'm just gonna become a YouTuber. That'll work. Okay, cool. Let's take a look.
Honey, I'm home! I forgot. I'm not married.
Nice. So I know you said that you're still working on this. It's like rough, like new shot, and you basically want to just like help on facials and like doing lip sync and stuff for the first time. Yeah. So I'll just look at the lips. Like, I see like some mechanic stuff that I could give you notes on later if you wanted. But if like you just want facial stuff, I will help you with that. I'll give you notes on that first.
Forgot.
So let me look at the first part. One thing I would say for this shot, just because it's like a little difficult, because like I was talking about earlier, Milan doesn't have textures, so it's kind of hard to see her anyways. I maybe would try play blasting this like without lights, because like I love the lighting. I think it's really cool, but it's kind of hard to see her face and stuff with the light flickering, because it kind of trips me out if I'm like, oh, is that like something just, or like right here, like I can't really tell where even her nose is at. So I can't give you super detailed facial notes, but just anything I can see.
Honey, I'm home!
So I think here, like when she says, honey, I'm home, I want to see some movement in her eyes. Like, honey, I'm home. Like the eyebrows come up, or honey, I'm home. Like just something with like either the eyebrows come in or like they come up. My initial reaction would be have them come up. So maybe here, because right now she just feels very like default Milan. And something I like to do with Milan, like I've worked with her quite a bit, is like round out her eyes. And I'm actually about to start a shot with her, like really long shot with her and a horse and lots of singing. So I will be able to give better detailed notes about Milan when I get to working with her more recently. But trying to like maybe round out these eyes. Woo! Make her really big eyes. Also, something about the resolution is just my tablet is not liking. I'm having to draw pixel by pixel here. But you know, the brows can come up. Maybe more whites of the eyes here too, right? There maybe. Maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's like, honey, I'm home, like. You know, it's really difficult to draw because, again, it's like letting me draw pixel by pixel, but basically just like opening up the face a bit more. Basically the biggest change will be in the eyebrows, right? Like this one you probably won't be able to see because of her bangs, her fringe, but basically just like opening up the face, like, honey, I'm home. Like on O, like it's always a nice time to kind of open up the face. And then like maybe through here, because she's like trying to like grab, you know, this big sack. This is when, let me see if it'll let me draw again. I'll do a very rough drawing here, but you know, maybe the brows come in. You know, even maybe for a minute, like she closes her eyes, right? Because she's trying to drag this big thing in. This is a very ugly drawing, but hopefully you get the idea of like, it's pressing up, like her cheeks are coming up here. Like her eyes are closed, because this is like going to be your compression, like your squash is like, and then she puts it down, right? That could be fun. And that way you're getting like a change in the face too here.
I forgot.
And this is like the main facials, and this one I can actually kind of see what's going on because of the light, so I'll give you even a minute too.
I'm not married. I forgot. I'm not married. I forgot. I'm not married.
So right now, like when I'm just watching the face, there's nothing going. I'm not sure like how rough like you blocked in the face, if like you still want to do stuff with like the eyes and the eyebrows, and you just worked on lip sync, or I'm not sure like what stage you're at with it. So, but I'll just like assume like you're starting from scratch, right? Of doing something different with the face here. Right now, she's very much in like default eye position, and it's just the mouth moving. So think about like, I don't know if we shot reference for this or not, but I'd love to see reference of acting, of to be able to see like what's the intention, right? And kind of like I was talking to like show a demo to Pratham was like, is she mad about it? Is she so happy that she's not married? Because that'll change like what expression you'll have her in, right? Because right now she just blinks when she looks past, but is she gonna be like, I forgot, I'm not married, like, ooh, I'm not married, I don't have to deal with someone in here, it's just me, like, I'm independent, right? Is she thinking that, or is she angry? Is she like, I forgot, I'm not married? Like, is she bitter about it? Does she really want someone but no one wants her? Or is she depressed? Is she like, I forgot, I'm not married? Like, is she sad? Is she, that will totally change the face, what it's doing, you know? So I would think about that for next time, and think about the subtext, like even write it down. Like sometimes what I think in the class, a mentor I had, Ray Rossi, had me do is like, he has all his students take their line of dialogue. If she's saying, I forgot, I'm not married, he'll have them write it down, like type it out, and then write what she's thinking or what the character's thinking on each line, like over top of it or under it. You know, that's usually if you have a long line, like this is just one thing, right? So you can just make it a sentence. If she's saying, I forgot, I'm not married. If she's bitter about it, if she's like angry that she's not married, I might have it be, I'll never find someone what a waste of time. Like, I'll never find someone, I'm going to be alone forever, right? That could be the thought of what's going through her head. So if I'm thinking that, I forgot I'm not married. So, like, I hold my face different, and I'm kind of, like, tense, and, like, I might even, like, sneer a little bit, and, like, maybe my eyes come up, and I'm just kind of bitter. Or if she's really happy about it, she's like, I'm independent, I don't have to deal with anyone, life is great. Like, she might be thinking, like, if she's saying, I forgot I'm not married, she's like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with someone else. Like, so she's like, I forgot I'm not married. Or, like, maybe she's thinking subtext-wise, oh, I don't have to deal with some idiot here, right? Like, I don't have to deal with another person in my life. Or, oh, I'm so great, I love my life. Like, maybe that's what she's thinking, right? So that will change the intention. Because right now, as it reads as is with her default, I feel like she doesn't care at all. Like, she's just saying it, right? She's like, I forgot I'm not married. Right? That doesn't tell us much, and that's not super interesting to watch. So we want to see a story, right? So, like, my thought is, like, she comes in, like, honey, I'm home. Like, maybe she's making fun of it, right? What's the intention? Maybe she hates that, like, in this life, everyone has to have a significant other. Everyone has to be married or be in love or whatever. But she, like, loves her independent life, and maybe I'm projecting. But it's like, maybe she's, like, mocking it. Like, honey, I'm home. I forgot I'm not married. Like, maybe she's doing that, right? So, also, hi, Kenny. Yeah, I had a dream. But, so maybe she's playing it that way, right? And that would be totally different. So, because the first part, she would be, like, it'd be satire, like, sarcasm. Like, she's making fun of, honey, I'm home. She's like, I forgot I'm not married. Like, maybe she does something like that. Or maybe, if you want to play it the other way, if she really does want someone, she really wants to get married, but she just hasn't found anyone yet, and it's just really difficult, and there's no one out there that she likes, and she wants to be in love really bad, and she wants to have someone to help her, and so she has to do all this work by herself, and she doesn't have a partner in crime to help her with stuff. So maybe she's like daydreaming. She's like, honey, I'm home. I forgot I'm not married, right? So maybe she's, like, in a daydream world of, like, oh, what if I could just walk in and say, honey, I'm home, and someone would come out and grab the bag and take care of it for me and help me. Like, maybe she's caught up in that daydream, and then it hits her, she's like, I forgot I'm not married, right? Like, maybe she, like, drops out of it, like, back into reality. She's like, oh, wait, I actually have no one here, and I have to do it all myself. Great, right? So it just, that will really indicate, like, how you play this, right? So if you haven't shot reference, I would definitely say, like, shoot reference of yourself, or even get someone else. Sometimes it's nice to be able to get other people to shoot reference for you so you can see different ideas. Try it out both ways if you don't know yet. Like, if you want to do something, like, specifically different, like, maybe you don't know how you want to play it yet. So maybe you'll do... Sorry, I was getting messages. Maybe you'll do both ways. Maybe you can try it out as her being angry or upset that she's not married, and so she's, like, depressed about it. Shoot reference of, like, thinking those thoughts, and then shoot reference of her being, like, ecstatic and happy about it, and see which one feels. If one's more interesting than the other. Maybe the sad one's way more interesting and tells more of a story. So that's what I would suggest, like, moving forward with this. Like, before you move forward, set your intentions with the shot of who this character is and why are they saying what they're saying. Always ask the why, right? And I always say with, like, anyone, you should be able to have anyone, because that will happen in jobs sometimes, in interviews. If you have shots in your reel, they'll be like, oh, why did they make this acting choice, right? Ideally, it should be, it should come across clearly just by watching the shot. People should be able to come to their own conclusions of the why. Or, have their own thoughts of why they're doing what they're doing. But at the same time, like, you want to be really intentional about your acting choices and think it through all the way. So that would be my main suggestion, like, going forward, is to shoot reference, set your intentions to the shot, try out different things, try out different stories.
I forgot I'm not married. I forgot I'm not married. I forgot I'm not married.
Because honestly, like, what you have with, like, the body mechanics right now, like her hands on her hips, like, that could work with, honestly, about any single emotion that you go for. So if you haven't shot reference, definitely shoot it. If you have, I'd love to see it too, so that way we can kind of see, like, what your intention is. I'd love to hear, like, next time, like, what your intention is for the the shot or something would be really nice to see. That way you know which way to go with it. So, also let me check. Okay, so as for, I'll go ahead and give you some notes though.
I forgot.
About
I'm not married.
about like lip sync, because that's kind of can be general. Like you don't really have to have like an emotion. Sometimes even before a shot, I'll do, if I'm waiting on something, I'll do lip sync with my character just in T-pose before I start my shot, because usually I can always tweak it to be whatever I need it to be later. And also the same thing here. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on because of the, whoops. So it's kind of hard to tell what's going on because of the light on it. It's like kind of blowing her out, like if overexposed. So if you send this again, like I'd like to see it without the light. That way I can tell and kind of give you like really give you specific notes on lip sync and stuff and facial posing, because it's kind of hard to see depth of her face right now. But basically here, here's where the F for forgot, and for a F, like FB, it's always like the top teeth are tucked on the lip, right? Forgot. So here, you'd want to see like, I can draw. I don't know why my tablet's being so strange. You know, maybe it's something like this, where like this is her lip up, and then her teeth are gonna kind of come over it, like, and bite her lip for forgot. Forgot. I forgot. Forgot. This right now, this is more like a O shape. Forgot. But it's more forgot. Like it's a little bit wider. So like forgot. I might do something like, just to give you a specific mouth shape. Maybe something like this. Forgot. Like maybe I might even make this wider. You know, maybe it's something like this. This isn't a perfect drawing, but forgot. Because she's also kind of saying, like, forgot, I'm not married. Like, she kind of is saying with, like, a little bit of, like, an accent. So this is more of a like a forgot, instead of forgot, It's more about So forgot. So forgot, that's a t, right? So her teeth are going to be like, forgot. So here, just to make it a little bit more of a appealing shape, I might make it a little bit smaller than that. You know, and then you're just going to see teeth here. Maybe it's like a little bit. It's a terrible drawing again because of my pen pressure, but forgot. You're gonna have a little bit of space. The teeth aren't gonna be clenched. It's like, it's not forgot. It's gonna be forgot. See how there's just like a little bit of like black space between forgot, because the T sound is being made by your tongue hitting like the roof of your mouth, like right behind your teeth. Forgot. So.
God, not married.
And here I hear a little breath. I forgot. And it sounds like it's coming from like her throat, like it's from her actual mouth and not like a nose exhale. So I'd keep the mouth open. I forgot. I'm not married. So I'd keep it open until like on this head turn. So I would still keep it open here.
Not married.
I'm not. So they're missing an M shape here. I'm not married. And basically just you're gonna close into that M shape from like, since you're gonna keep it open for the breath on the I'm not married. She's just gonna close into the M instead of going like I'm, because she's not really, if you scrub, she kind of goes, I'm not married. So she's almost saying, she's like just saying the M on I'm. She's just kind of going, I'm not married. Almost like, am not married. She's almost saying that instead of I'm not married. She's like, I'm not married. Right? So here's where I would like close the mouth for the M. You know, so the lips are going to be pressed together. I'm not. I might keep this a little bit, right now this is more like a ooh, like I'm not, ooh, not married. So maybe more of a I'm not. Like her accent, I would kind of keep these wider, like obviously you don't want them super wide, but I'm nah, ah, she's saying a ah, so. So something a little bit more like this. This is a little terrifying looking, but something similar to this, like not these poses exactly with the mouth, but because also these drawings are awful because of, like, I don't know if it's the resolution or something, but it's drawing pixel by pixel. Or not. So here I start to hear the M. So the mouth needs to be closed by here to be like, you know. For the M here. And here's where she kind of skips over the not married. She doesn't really say a T, so I would just close into that M shape. Not married. Not. And like basically the only thing that she's going to do is the tongue's going to come up as she goes into the M shape. Air. So this is when the mouth needs to be open for married. Married. So again, like mouth needs to be open. Married. So this is when you're gonna have your jaw like rotation or like jaw opening, the peak here, like this is the height of married. Married. And then you're just gonna close the married because it's gonna R-E, or kind of like similar like jaw positions, but it's just gonna be married. So.
I forgot. I'm not married. I forgot. I'm not married.
Yeah, I think that'd be my notes for you so far on this is like, I just would want to see like reference with it and set an intention for the shot of what's the subtext, what is this character thinking, how is she interpreting what she's saying, right? Why is she saying what she's saying? Is she mad about it? Is she angry? Is she happy? Is she depressed? Is she hopeless? I mean, think about that, and that will dictate what you end up doing with her facial acting and facial performance, because otherwise it will just be bland because you don't have anything to base off of it, and she's not thinking through her scene. It's more of her just going through it, but instead you want her to feel like she's alive and like she's thinking through her scene. So that would be my suggestions for this so far, and then just some like lip sync stuff of stuff you can do to kind of like help make things read. But yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be my notes so far. Do you have any other questions, Ian? Awesome, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, cool. This will be a fun shot. I like it. It's a fun premise and good dialogue, so I'm excited to see what you do with it. Awesome. Okay, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to look. I think some people posted stuff to review, and I have a little bit more time, so it's been almost a 3-hour stream. Look at me go. Okay, let's see. Let me switch real quick, make sure I have the right links up and stuff. You can stare at my face while I do it. Ooh, a ballet shot, yes. I forgot, yeah, I looked at this a little bit ago. Let's see, Sherry sent something. Okay, cool, she won't be here, but she'd love if I could look at it. Okay. But I think this is Rid's shot. So hopefully Rid's here. If not, I can just give some notes and then he can watch it. They can watch it whenever it's there. Okay, cool. So, hopefully you guys can see my screen again. Let me take a look at this and let me make sure it's the right one. Nice. This is cool. I forget what solo this is from. I think it's Paquita or Don Q. But the fun fact, the reference that you have here, this girl, Catherine, I forget her last name, but she actually had 2 kids, right? Like a month before she filmed this video. She was the, I think it's Pacific Northwest Ballet. And she had like twins right before, literally, and got right back to work like a month later. She's insane. Like this woman is wild. I don't know how. Nice, you get some nice poses. Okay, one thing I would say right here, these steps are not working right now. Like the weight is off. If you're going to do like steps in, like honestly, if you're just doing this as an exercise, I think it's totally fine to like start here, like with your references of where she's like going into the jump. I think that's totally fine. Especially since you don't have reference for these these steps or anything. Like it's always good to have reference, especially when you're like putting 2 pieces of reference together if she needs to step to get into it. So I would suggest, like, if you're just doing this for this exercise, like getting used to body mechanics, I would just start it like where your reference starts to this. Okay, let me see if it will let me draw it open. Yay. And here she needs, okay, so like here, look, if you look at your reference, now obviously this is a little bit, this is why I'm saying also too, because technically, like, you can't do this level of jump at this height with this kind of leg placement without doing a huge run and like jump before it, like a, you know, down, like they call it like a plie in ballet, like when you bend the knees and like you're really like right before you jump, you know how you bend down and then jump up. So that's why I'm saying too is like these steps are way too slow in order for her to be able to do this level of jump, so it just doesn't work. Like you can see the speed at like what she's been moving, like because actually right before I think this video does, what the dancer usually does is she does this presentation and then she'll run all the way around the stage. It's like very, very fast, like light on her feet obviously, but she runs around and then she runs back to the stage and then she does this jump to get in placement and ready. So there was a huge run that happens before this for her to get this speed and be able to do this jump. So that's why these steps just aren't working in place of it, because it's really hard to go from like 3 steps into this jump because you need lots of momentum to get you up. So that's kind of the little sneak peek behind the scenes, like what happens before a dancer usually does this jump is lots of like a big run to get the momentum running so that way they can barrel into this jump. So another reason why I said it would be a little bit better to just go ahead and start like where your reference is at. And then like, so if this reference is starting, you know, look at where, it's kind of hard to see because she's got tights the same color as the floor and shoes the same color as the floor, but her leg is here, right? Her body is here. Because she is about to kick out that leg and because she has all that momentum, right? Because she just did this big run beforehand. So ideally this foot placement needs to be about here, right? Something like this. And like you can even see like this, her back foot, like this is her leg and then her back leg is here. See how dynamic of a pose that is? So try getting like this back leg out here with this foot, right? She's taking this step. I mean, look at how like off balance she is, but that just shows like how much momentum you have to get up in order to do this jump for this to actually work. So think about translating that onto the rig, right? So if the foot's here, think about like how you translate that onto the rig, right? So she's gonna be here, and look how long she's on the ground too, right? Her foot only starts to come off here, but here you're already like way off the ground, which it's always good to exaggerate things, but she needs to have a little bit more of like torque to get up in order to do this jump. So here she needs, and then like, you know, this leg starting to go out. So here she still needs to, like this foot needs to be just starting to come off the ground, and then this body starting to get over the top. And then like the foot's coming out. And then here, then she hits this, right? Look how fast this standing leg, look how fast it kicks out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 frames and she's practically in a full split, right? So really you don't need that long. Because right now, like when I watch it at speed, her screen left leg feels floaty to me, right? See through here, like how like just floaty that leg feels because you're not getting that push off and then kick. Like she kicks it out in like 5 frames, right? And that's what makes it feel so snappy and nice. And then same thing, like her legs are out fully extended for what, 1, 2, 3, barely even 3 frames, right? But so here I would definitely, like you can exaggerate that a little bit, but here you have to start like having that leg come in. And also have this body come over just a little bit more, right? Full extension of the arms. She's got a little bit of a claw going on here, which is a no-no. And you know, by here we should really have this reverse C with the spine. Look at how her shoulders are, right? Same thing, you want a bit more of this. The arms are still up. Starting to come down, but look at the angles, right? This arm's gonna be a little more up because she has a fan with it, which you don't have, so be a little bit different, but she's pretty much on the floor by this point with that other leg. But these hips need to tilt up in order to like unlock that hip, because the way that like hips work and the why dancers are able to do what they do is because there's like a ball joint in your hip, right? And it hits a wall about 90 degrees. And then from there on, you have to lift the hips in order to like rotate the leg up and open up the hips for that joint to be able to move further up. So otherwise it hits. So you physically cannot move that leg any higher without rotating the hips in Z. So it's called opening up the hips. So basically that's what you need to do in order to be able to have that leg, this bone specifically, any higher. If you're just standing there, you can get your leg, like if this is your hips, right? You can get your leg to 90 degrees, right? This leg standing. You can get, just as like a general like body mechanics, no. You can get this leg out like this at 90 degrees. But if you want to go any degree above that, you need to start rotating the hips. So if I want the hip here, that leg's going to stay at that same 90 degree angles relative to when the hips are rotating, right? So then the hips are going to rotate this way. And it's actually going to drop this leg a little bit. So it has to, you have to rotate Z. So that in a lot of dancing, you have to rotate it if that leg's going any higher, right? But dancers, whenever they're down, they try to keep that rotation to a minimum because they want to look like they're gliding or anything, you know, so they don't want to have tons, but you physically can't not rotate your hips in Z specifically whenever you're going up and down. And lifting the leg and doing what we call like extensions, which is, you know, lifting the leg up. So with here, right, you have this leg really high, but then the hips are there. So these hips actually, because now like I'm looking at the reference, these hips can be a little bit more straight on because her leg, if I'm looking at it, is not as high as what you're having. And she keeps it low. She keeps it below that 90 degree line. So here, right, this needs to be more like that. Also, this software is actually a website. It's called Sing Sketch. This is what we do reviews and stuff on. Yeah, so we can draw and people can see it in real time and it's saved. Yeah, and I think the shot is animated in Maya. It might not be. It might be Blender, but I'm pretty sure it's Maya. And so like here, you know, like her leg's already back behind there. This is a position called passe, where the leg is pointed here. And then also these hips, this is a no-no in dance to have the her bottom like out like that. So it needs to be tucked in. We call it pulling up through the hip. So the hips need to be, again, like a little bit of that Z rotation just to kind of keep it up and keep everything tucked in so that way you're not hitching out your hips one side to the other. It's a nice pose there. I like that. So here you're going to have a little bit more of this curve to the spine. See how like she's got a little bit of this going on because she's presenting that foot out to be able to step up on top of it. And see, this is, look at her hips, right? Look at the Z rotation. It's crazy. comparatively to her chest, right? So think of that. So you're there, but I would even push it even more, right? And then this, the upper chest, is going to be rotated the other way. You know, these... That's kind of the look that you're wanting to go for, right? All about that extension. Get the legs like that. This is going to open up the hip more so you can have a bit more of this. That's a good foot. I would keep this back leg for a few more frames in more of this position. This is called arabesque when they do this. I would keep that back frame up just a little bit so that way it doesn't feel soft coming down. You can see how right now the foot comes down in like 4 frames and then it hits a wall right here. Hers has a nice arc where it goes straight down here to place. So here's good, but before that it needs to be like here. Well, actually I drew that the opposite way. Hold on. So it needs to be like, if this is the height of like where her foot is, it needs to ease, and then get bigger, 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 and then the biggest, right? Watch out this foot coming up immediately as the feet come up through the floor. They need to start pointing. Like, I mean, her foot is literally pointed in like this, right? So, make sure you're getting that. With the foot, right? So very pointed inward, making that clean line. So this is a really important area. So see how much, you can kind of see because she has like a belt of like the top of her tutu girdle of right here. You see how far that Z rotation is? And right now yours is very flat. I mean, look at like how much that you have to rotate that hip to go up in order for her leg to go up. So this hip needs to be like here. And then you get more of like this, right? And also this foot, the top of the foot needs to be pointing directly that way. So you're going to see a side profile of the foot. And then this is going to open up the hip so she can actually open the leg like that. And the shoulder will be raised so that way she can get that arm up there. So this is, this foot needs to stay pointed the entire time until it hits the ground. So make sure that it doesn't flex. That's a big no-no. Like, that makes it feel very clumsy and not ballet-like at all. Because that's the whole, your whole entire goal in dance is to keep your feet pointed at all times, unless it's stylized or a contemporary piece. Sometimes there's moments where you flex, but if your foot is off the ground, it better be pointed. That's kind of like a rule. And here, so you can't see your feet, but she will be closing in, it's called fifth position, so the feet will be on top of each other. So basically, this foot will be here, this front foot, turned out, so with the toes pointing this way, and then the back foot will be crossed behind it. There's also a bug in here, it's driving me nuts. And these toes will be pointing that way, and they'll be closed very tight together, so the thighs will be touching. One thing that's really nice about her retroré here is she has this, and then she kind of has an angle here, right to the hips, or to the, not the hips, the shoulders. That's really nice. That makes this pose really appealing. So I try to get a little bit of that, try to get something like that. And the head over a little bit. And whenever this pose is called like a passe, see how the whole goal of this pose is to be able to slip a piece of paper between your toe and your knee. So and ideally, like the best one, it's really difficult to do and only some people can actually do it, but like the ideal perfection of this pose is having it above your knee. So she almost has it. So like her knee's there and like her toe is either at the knee or above the knee. A lot of times it's more preferable, like it's more desired to have it above the knee, but so here, like ideally you want this, right? That's her foot, and then there, it's gonna come above the knee, and then see how she comes down in front of the leg? That's very ballet. So here, this foot will actually be coming down this way. Like that. So it'll be, its path will be directly down, basically. And that toe is gonna follow that leg all the way down. Same thing here, she needs, oh, she is stepping down to include a PA. So if she's coming down here, that's good, but see how she immediately, oh, I think she's still on point, actually. Yep, she is. Okay, so here she's on the top of her toe. Here. So she's what we call on point. So here, like, I think you've done that. And yeah, so like here, like, see how she's like on her toe? That's what you need to do here. So she needs to be on her toe here, because it'll make more sense for the next move. She stays on her toe. So she's still on her toe here. So she's still up. So she's still up on her toe. And then see how she just picks it up? So this foot comes down. But then this leg's gonna be bent, and that toe is actually, she's just gonna roll off of it. So the toe's here, her foot's gonna go like that. Instead of coming down, she's just gonna go forward. And then she picks it up, and this is like called coupe. So she's just gonna pick it up here. It's a long stream today. I feel like there's been a Q&A or two that's gone 3 hours. Has there? Maybe not. I feel like there has. Thank you. I don't know if I should be concerned for my well-being or... Also here, you don't need to go here first. So this is something called a PK when they go up on the toe, right to air rest. So she's gonna straighten this foot, and she's putting basically the toe of her point shoe on the ground here, and then she's just gonna roll. So basically she's going like this, and then she's just gonna roll up onto it. So it's not going flat and then up, she's just putting the toe right on the ground, and then she just rolls on the very tip of it. So here, this leg needs to be out, and that toe is gonna be here on the ground. And then she's just gonna, her foot's just gonna stay like that and goes directly to here. And that's a really nice pose. But I think that'd be my main notes for you. Basically just watch out for like toes and feet. Watch out for the legs, making sure they stay the form. Make sure the hips, like that rotate Z, is really kicking in whenever like the leg's up higher than a 90-degree angle. Yeah, that'd be my main notes for you. Do you have any questions or anything? I'll go ahead and get this up while I'm waiting. I think Sherry had one. I can give her some quick notes. For the first stage when she runs here, So kind of like I mentioned before, these steps aren't working right now, and like kind of like I'm not sure if you heard me before talk about it, but basically my advice was just to go ahead and start the shot, especially since it's more like a practice body mechanics. Like start it here, right? Start it where your reference is starting of, because in the actual, in order to get enough energy in order to do this jump that she's doing, she needs to have a really long run that's fast in order to, and really go down and then up and like bend her knees and like get into that jump. So right now these steps don't make sense in terms of the energy that she needs, because you can't really just jump like that right from nothing, right? So there has to be a ramp up to it. And usually in this dance before, what happens before this, as I was mentioning earlier, is the character has to run all the way around the stage, not the character, but the dancer has to run all the way around the stage, back around, and then does the last like final run as fast as they can to go into this jump, this leap jump. So I would suggest just honestly like starting from here. Like start, this is your starting pose. That would be my biggest suggestion to do, because right now, as I said, either you have to add a lot of frames to this first part and add her running from back here, I mean way back here, further than I can even draw, of her running up and then bending down and then jumping, which you could do if you wanted to, but I think it would be easier, especially since this is like a mechanic shot, it's practice. I would do it, just start it from here and just learn that. So that would be my advice, my suggestion. Cool, we have Sherry too. Okay, cool. Awesome, yeah, you're welcome. It's fun to see ballet stuff, so keep it coming. I like it. Okay, we have Sherry, and I don't think she's here because it's crazy time for her, but she said if I could record some notes, she'd watch it later. So I'll just take a look and see what's going on. More dancing. I love it. Nice, okay. So I'll just give you a few notes. Biggest notes I would say, Sherry, is like watch out for these. I should not use red. She's wearing a red top with a red tote bag. Let's be smart about this, Madison. Have these shoulders come up, right? Have them engage with the arms. The shoulders are kind of like what I was talking about earlier about hips, of like you can get to a 90-degree angle with your shoulders, right? But if you want to go any higher than that, you have to engage the shoulder to go too, right? You can't put your arm up and keep your shoulder down unless you curve it, right? So you cannot move this bone, right? This upper arm less than your shoulder. So more than your shoulder. More? Less? Brain doesn't work. 3 hours talking. But basically what I'm trying to say is like the shoulders need to be engaged and they need to support the arm movement. So just watch that out. Or like here, this is good too, but I would probably even have this come up even further because this is so far up. I would make sure that you're getting like a straight leg here. Right? I know it's hard to bend Stella's toes, but if you can, it'd be nice to get something like that. I would try to get a couple frames of it being straight before it comes back down. Like even here, I'd try to keep it a little more straight than this. Also watch out for this foot. It pops right here up and back down. Ideally, it should just keep, here, if not point even more towards the ground. And like even here, especially here, like keep that pointed. Like see how, but like her foot is almost like reverse pointed. Also, I would try to straighten this leg and point it just to be like more aesthetically pleasing. And it's okay for a few frames to have this, but once she gets this foot out here, this leg should be straight. If anything, it can kind of like hyperextend and go this way, right? Especially right here, like that leg should be straight, just to be more aesthetic. And then there's something, the biggest thing I would say, Sherry, for this whole thing is like the weight right here isn't working for me. Like her translate X needs to either be delayed or like the TY needs to be like let up a little bit. She just kind of floats, and this is a really extreme move. Like you have no super cartoony movements until this all of a sudden in the shot, and she feels kind of out of place. You know, like here, I almost want to see her, you know, up here, like if she's going to do something drastic. You know, maybe her legs here, and she starts falling this way. Like, just something a little bit more realistic with how she moves. And it really is just, like, bringing her up and, like, translate, like, then she could be, like, here, right? This makes sense? But just in between here, I feel like she's way too far down. Like, my drawing, you could kind of find it in between, like, my drawing and, like, what you have right now. Of just, like, not as far down and then not as much translate X. I think that's the biggest, like, thing that's catching my eye that feels off. It's just, like, right here, like, she's really out of balance, and it's a slow transition. Like, and she needs to be a little bit further up, and, like, it needs to be quicker how far she goes over. If that makes sense. I think that'd be my main notes. Just like find areas that you can really keep the extensions of her feet, the line of action, like going through her foot and like being pointed and the leg being straight for like a few more frames, and you have it in some of like her extensions. And then also the biggest thing with me is just this here. This stands out to me. Like the whole shot is feeling really good, and like I like the mechanics you have. Everything feels like it's working pretty solid. It's just this right here that just feels like out of place. And then I would just fix it kind of like how I mentioned of maybe finding a happy middle ground between like my drawing and like what you have here. And it's mainly the translate X. That's what I feel like is the biggest issue. And then just maybe backing up just a little bit of like the TY as well. I think that will help a lot. And then like what you have here is good. Like I think that's fine. And she feels like this feels correct and for like the balance and the motion of everything, but I would say that's like my biggest notes about all of this so far is just that section really, and then it's just like little polishy stuff with the legs and the feet. Oh, and then like also watching the shoulders, like making sure they're going up far enough to support the arms. Like I mean, like look how far in here her shoulders literally like covering half her head, right? So it's surprising how much you can push shoulders and it still feels totally natural. And it feels actually more natural when you push shoulders, what feels like a crazy amount, because they look really good with the body because it feels like it's supporting the arms. But yeah, I think that'd be my main note, Jerry. So hopefully you can watch this recording. And if you have any questions about it, just feel free to DM me and I can re-explain or do anything and be able to explain my thought process. My notes are probably, after 3 hours of critiques, my brain's starting to go a little numb. It feels like back in the day, old dailies of me going for 8 hours of critiques and losing it. I'm not as powerful as I used to be, where I could go for 8 hours at a time giving critiques all day. But yeah, I think that'd be my main notes for you, Sherry. So if anyone has any questions or anything else that they want to ask, feel free to. If not, I'll probably wrap it up and go get some dinner, because that sounds nice. I haven't ate yet. So, yeah. But I think that's it for today, unless anyone has anything else. It's been really cool seeing everyone's work and lots of cool stuff. So, yeah, you're welcome, Preetham. Yes, it's 7 p.m. my time, so it's about time for good night. I need to go eat some dinner first to get some food. But, Kenny, I've never had a dream. Ever. Never had a dream. Yeah, you're welcome. I love your ballet shot. It was really cool today. Today was like dance day. I don't know. I loved it though. It's so fun. I miss dancing a lot because I don't dance as much as I used to. I haven't danced like at all in the past years because of COVID and not being able to get back in the studio, but I miss it. So it's fun to be able to critique and live out my dreams virtually of being a ballet teacher at a big studio somewhere. So a ballet mistress somewhere, but alas, I'm an animator at home. But I can live out my dreams. That's the thing about animation, right? Is you can be all kinds of different characters and things. So, but yeah, if that's it for everyone, I'm going to go eat. And thank you everyone for coming. And I will see you next time. So goodbye. Yeah, Ro, I'm still alive. I'm literally just about to say goodbye. So time to go get food. Bye guys. See you later.